Well, good evening, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. And boy, do I have a really good show for us tonight. Barry Littleton has tasked me with two pretty fantastic targets. It's actually the same target from different angles. And we're going to be talking about the Cydonia complex on Mars tonight. And I think this data is pretty mind blowing. And this is going to be a wild rabbit hole for us to go down tonight. And this is going to connect to a lot of other things we've talked about in the past, and the secret space program potentially. I don't know. Let's find out tonight. I hope everybody's doing great. Thank you guys so much for all your support this week with all the shows, and over the weekend. We had a great show yesterday. We always have great shows, but if you guys missed that last show, talking about Morgan Wallen and Dale Earnhardt, raise hell and praise Dale. Okay. And Post Malone and Hank Williams Jr., y'all go check that out. That was a great show. Shout out to Long Island Bigfoot. Thank you for joining me on that show yesterday. And we also talked about parasites as well. So if you guys want to learn about those, check out that show from yesterday. Well, let's get into our show. Actually, before we do that, I did update my website, y'all. Okay, I updated my website today, or late last night, actually. And so if you would like to go check out my website, that is thecryptidhuntress.com. You can find all my social media links there and the archive to all of my shows on my website. Also, I did want to point out that all of the data for I have 3 targets on there. Barry gave me a 3rd target, but we're not going to go over that one tonight. I did put that 3rd target on my Patreon, though. Okay. And it doesn't really have anything to do with these targets. So, I did not know what it was until about 2 minutes ago. So, but I'm going to leave it up on there, and I will do another post for that one later. Okay. And maybe we'll talk about that target in another show, but the data is on my Patreon. So thank you to all my Patreon members. And you guys are welcome to go access that right now. All the information is there, everything, graphs, pictures, charts, all that. It's over on my Patreon. So thank you to all my members over there. And if you guys would like to support my work, become a member of my Patreon. I also have a shop on Etsy called More Woman Goods, and I have a membership here at YouTube called The Hunt Club. You guys can become a member of that. So thank you to all my members of the Hunt Club as well. You guys are the best. Okay, well, let's get to our show tonight. Okay, and thank you to all my mods for being here tonight as well. In 1976, NASA's Viking 1 orbiter captured images of what appears to be a humanoid face and a pyramid-like structures, multiples, in the Cydonia region on Mars. These formations have sparked decades of scientific debate and public fascination about possible ancient civilizations on the red planet. The face on Mars is a mesa in the Cydonia region that resembles a human face when viewed from above. When it was dismissed as light and shadows, higher resolution images have continued to show intriguing facial features that may show intelligent design. Near the face structure, researchers have identified pyramid-shaped formations that appear to have geometric precision. The structures are arranged in patterns that some suggest have astronomical significance, similar to ancient monuments on Earth, like the Giza pyramids. The Cydonia region also contains, which some researchers called the city. I just put the city, but I think it's like the city hall, maybe. The city is in my notes, y'all. A collection of formations that appear to be arranged in a geometric pattern consistent with urban planning. Could these structures have been part of an ancient Martian civilization? Well, of course, Barry Littleton tasked me with 2 targets of the Mars Cydonia complex, and we're going to go over exactly what those targets are tonight. And Barry has a lot, and I mean a lot, of information for us, and we're going to connect all sorts of dots tonight. And so, like I said, if you'd like to view that remote viewing data, it is all on my Patreon, and there are links in my description box. And I'm sure the mods will be putting it in the chat tonight as well. Barry Littleton is here. He is a cutting-edge researcher on all things esoteric, cryptid, UFO, extraterrestrial, you name it. Barry's done it. He has a wonderful YouTube channel and a Patreon. It's titled Barry Littleton. And he has an archive of he has a whole library of some of the best research you guys are going to find on a lot of these topics on YouTube, all over the place. And so I am super blessed to have him here on the show tonight. And he is known for tasking me with some pretty fantastic blind coordinate remote viewing targets. So please help me welcome to the show tonight our good friend, Barry Littleton. Hey, Barry.
Hey, what's up, Jessica? Thanks for having me, and thanks for doing this one. And hello to everyone in your audience. Again, the last couple of shows we did, I was blown away by the positive responses. So I appreciate everybody. I mean, that's really cool. You don't always see that side of it, so it's refreshing to say the least. Much appreciation to everybody. And I think this one will be a really interesting one, you know.
It's very interesting, actually. I was so tickled when you told me what it was. You did the big reveal on Facebook, and I was not expecting Mars, okay, for this target. But looking back at the data, it all makes sense now. You know, when I was doing that target, so both targets actually. And this is kind of a hot topic right now. Mars is a very hot topic, Barry, and so. Indeed. What made you give me this target?
You know, it's two things. One is first, just so everybody knows that I am not an expert on Mars. All right. So I want everybody to know that I don't claim to be an expert on Mars. I've had many experiences in my life. None of them have been going to Mars. So that's not my thing. But however, I find it very interesting. And there's several things that have garnered my attention over the years concerning Mars that led me to give you this target, you know. So the first set of coordinates I gave you was, I believe it was the interior, and the second coordinates were for the exterior, of a place that especially called Cydonia on Mars that contains the face, several pyramid structures, and they've termed it the Sidonia complex. Mm-hmm. So that's a good one there. Yeah, and that's like you said, Viking 1 took that in 1976, and there's like a couple of frames of it that have been taken. Excuse me. One reason I wanted to kind of bring this up, and something that gives me a current interest in this, yeah, cool, is that I've had in some regressions with some people I've done, some people that having their past life being on Mars and being underground in some type of facility and describing himself being an insectoid civilization. And what's cool is a lot of the clients that I have are not people that are in the quote unquote communities that you and I are in that know people, you know what I mean? So they're not really always into this stuff. But when that comes up, you have to kind of really deal with it, because a lot of times you think certain past life regression will be another Earth incarnation, but it's not. They start describing something like that. So I've had that happen several times. That brings my attention to it. All right. Also, you just want to just keep going with it, or you think we're going to throw it? Because I can say the other stuff, because I'll just get this out of the way so you can go through all the data, and it will be, I think, much more concise than me sitting up and freaking out like I tend to do and start talking too much, rambling on. You know how it goes. Anyway,
hey, we always get the information out, and we always have fun, and the audience seems to enjoy it. Okay, so
you know something else about this that interests me as well is the quote unquote SSP connection. All right. And some people that have reported that they've been to Mars and they've been on jump rooms and things that have simulated that. So even if it's a jump room, a quantum synthetic environment, it's been modeled on something that has been seen, you know, and to make that actual reality come true for that neuro things that are involved with QSE. So that's just something else that I want to kind of see into, because, you know, it may validate some things some of those individuals say. It's not for me to judge, you know what I mean? But there's people, I'm sure in your audience know a lot more about that than I. So I was accused of not liking SSP contactees. That is not true at all. I have tried to reach out in a different way and trying to understand what the tapestry is that kind of puts us all together. I think that's important. You know what I mean? So anyway, so it'll be just cool to validate with all these things putting together. That's a reason for the target. Now going further, excuse me, some things. Sorry, allergy season is getting pretty bad here. But there's the first person I want to bring attention to that really kind of garnered my attention was Richard Hoagland, and that goes back to the 90s. He was on Art Bell's first time I heard him. He was one of my favorite guests on there, and that's going from about 92 up. And I gave you a picture of one of the books he had produced. It's called The Monuments of Mars. It's one of those pictures.
Okay.
Yeah.
The monuments. This looks like it. There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, that's it right there. A City on the Edge of Forever. Good book. And what's interesting is that title, the second part of City on the Edge of Forever, is the same title as one of my favorite original Star Trek episodes, starring, of course, William Shatner and Joan Collins, two of the few that are still alive from that era. But the City on the Edge of Forever deals with time travel and the Guardian on the Edge of Forever in this area of space. So it's interesting. Anyway, that's a good book. And he brings up some things, okay, concerning that, which is not just the face itself, which we're more familiar with, but these different pyramid structures that are in that area and different anomalies in these pictures, okay? And another one is he talks about these tube worm, like these underground, what he suspected it could even have been possibly organic at some time, but I'll give you some pictures of those too. But these glass tube worms, yeah, and he's saying that these anomalies are actually, like what could be called in science fiction a transconduction chamber, of that like that can rush you across the city itself, like a transport. All right, so food for thought on that, or he already suspected they're at one point organic, and they call those hoagies. They've nicknamed them hoagies.
Like
his last name is Hoagland. Yeah.
It's like a sub sandwich.
Indeed, with the bread that's thicker than a mug.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's so funny.
But that's what they have kind of termed those, and he suspects those being cities and underground civilizations and things like that. Some of those are going like into the ground and pointing into the ground, so things like, so it's very interesting, some of the things that he proposes on that. Yeah. And that's, he was the one that really put a lot of emphasis on that beyond what we know now. Okay. Another person that always caught my attention, I thought was pretty worth looking at, and his theories is the theoretical plasma physicist John Brandenburg. And I gave you a picture that he did. It's called Death of Mars. It's another one of those pictures.
Death of Mars. Is it the red one? This one?
No, that's actually that's Richard Hoagland's what he's saying is the tube cities that are some of these structures that have been seen by the Viking were, that he thinks. Yeah, that's a good one. That's somebody's real illustration. Yeah. But no, this one is another book. There you go. Right on, Jessica. Okay, and what he says is that, when I first heard about him and I started following him, is that he was plasma physicist, and he was talking about actually ways to manipulate portals and actually creating, he's one of those people that was creating black holes in the laboratory using plasma and things. Anyone can look that up. So that always gets my attention. Me, Jessica, I'm more into science than I am the fantasy so much. Being a contactee, there's some amount of that goes into it, but I like the scientific basis and see what we're dealing with and how the contact scenario is mirroring our scientific progress. I think that's very important. What's being back engineered, what isn't, what's being explored, and what isn't. Anyway, never mind my rambling on that. Back to this, Death of Mars. Outside of that, what he was doing on portals, he was the one that gave this theory that there was a war on Mars, and he based that on the what's called Xenon 129 isotopes, and that's from a thermonuclear reaction. That levels of that on Mars is super high. Okay, and then you've got surface what they call radionuclides, which is radioactive substances such as thorium, uranium, and things like that are also the possibility from a nuclear thermal explosion. Okay. Another thing is he says, that the monuments appear to be eroded in that way as well, including the face. And also the red hue of Mars is evidence of possibly a nuclear fallout. And,
Wow.
I'd even heard him and Richard Hoagland doing a comparison that was saying that perhaps the tubes that they're seeing, those tubes were possibly more like what we would call Libyan glass for thermal radiation explosion. You know what I'm talking? Libyan glass that they think was from a bomb being exploded a long time ago in the desert.
Ooh,
And maybe perhaps that's similar. Or as that supposed whistleblower told me, oh, the backside of the moon is from the solar flare or solar flash that comes through the solar system, and it crystallized everything back there, all natural formations. So, getting food for thought. I'm just throwing this out for people.
Wow.
Anyway, concerning John Brandenburg. So that's just something that I think is really worth exploring also. Okay. Another one that always caught my attention is a book called the Sidonia Codex. And I'll give you a picture of that book too.
There it is.
Oh, right on, Jess, right on. And that's by George Haas and William Saunders. And they actually did some other books too. And I use a picture of that too. One is the Martian Codex, and also
That one's not it.
Oh, I think what's the name of the other one? Oh, the Architects of Mars. They did those too. But anyway, yeah. So that's Brandon. Yeah, that's all right.
Trying to pull up all the books I can see.
We can talk about that one too. That's important.
Pictures are so small, I can't hardly see them. Okay.
Doing great though. Sorry, if I'd done that earlier, we would have. Okay. You know what? Yeah. Sidonia Codex. Stay there. Okay. That's cool. Okay. You showed the book. Okay. What these gentlemen did, is that they had done comparison in the Cydonia region, especially the face, compared to Mayan ruins and Mayan symbols. Okay, and like right there, you've got the Venus mask. And that's showing is that no, it's a jaguar mask showing the feline side of the face. Wow. Okay, and what they did was did a complete comparison with these things with geometric and symbolic similarities between the Maya and Mesoamerican and the face itself. And to me, I'm going to throw this out, okay? And I'll mention this with the next book. But to me, that face looks like an Olmec head to me.
It does.
And something that's mentioned on the pictures of actually that face, we only kind of see one side of it. One side of it is supposedly more eroded. Okay, the darker side of it there. Anyway, that's the Sidonian, the Codex. But a lot of you can probably flash some others that they did several masks. So I gave you some pictures of that. But they did these similarities. That's the complex itself, which you can see looks a lot like the other pictures you showed.
This one's very interesting. That's
where they're saying one of them matches the Mason symbol.
That's the Freemason symbol right there.
Yep.
How odd is that?
Very interesting, isn't it?
It is. It is, man.
And what civilization we were dealing with there.
Why does all this keep popping up? Research here.
Yeah, the Venus mask, the jaguar mask. And, in some ways, what they were doing also is they jumped on top of, there was another mission that was called the Mars Global Surveyor in 1996. And that was sent over Sidonia to take pictures. And they started saying that it was just eroded mesa. It's an eroded mesa, like we were saying the whole time. Okay. And you've got people like that gentleman right there. That last picture was a guy, Tom Vander Fladen, I think is his name. And he did like some comparisons of the mesas also, but he was kind of riding on the Codex a little bit. That's another Richard Hoagland deal, the tubes from some of them. Yeah. And anyway, so back. Sorry, I'm getting too excited. There it goes. So I need to get this done right now, Joe. Do you understand?
Yes. Well, I'm just hitting buttons, so I'm probably.
No, you're doing fine.
All over the place.
You can't go wrong. And when we go back later, if people want to see some, I'll try to explain them because it's all stuff I'm talking about now. All those pictures. Okay. Anyway, there was another mission in 1996. It was the Mars Global Surveyor, and they went. That's a good picture of Cydonia right there. Good one. Sorry. Anyway, this in 1996, and they took it back over. And they said it was just an eroded mesa and things like that. So you got these guys that did the Sidonia Codex, kind of writing on that, and kind of looking at some of those erosions of the face supposedly that they're showing, and comparing it to things like the Jaguar mask and the Venus mask and the Mayan ruins. And you know how many Mayan temples they found? It's like unreal.
Yes. We have Mayan ruins in North Georgia, Barry.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, we
That's
do.
not those stones, is it?
It was like just a big pyramid. It's up at Track Rock Gap. And it's been vandalized recently, past couple of years. I mean, well, it's kind of hidden, and they keep it hidden for the most part. You know, don't bring a lot of attention to it. But people have gone up there and just sprayed graffiti on all the ancient ruins. It's really sad. Actually.
That is sad. That is sad.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Know, that's something that's really popular right now here and in other countries, destroying ancient temples, ancient things that are. It's a shame. It's a shame. It's erasing history. It's exactly what it's doing.
Flooding them out with man-made lakes too, purposely by local governments.
And you know, with what we're discovering, things with like what they call the Superman chip, and the other ways that they're using plasma crystals to actually unlock information and store information, and the way they think some of these monuments like the Moe that you and I looked at, and how there actually is information stored in there as well. And we're just starting to be able to uncode that with those technologies now. Very fascinating. All that stuff's getting destroyed now. So anyway, I don't want to go on to the depression area. Back to, anyway, so that surveyor, I think I left off there, but that was an attempt to discredit everything seen in Cydonia. But then you've got these guys that are doing actually comparisons, symbolism to ancient cultures, and saying there was a connection there. And I think the Olmecs are much more involved than we're aware of. And that takes us to the next thing that interests me. Okay. Another book you just showed. It was From the Motherland to the Mothership. It's written by a lady named Shirlene Wallace and her sister Erling. And they're twins. Yeah, they're known as the UFO twins also. And what's really interesting is I've interacted with her a little bit because she lived in my hometown for a while, and she knows my cousin really well. So, and I'm also part of a panel that's Experiencers of Colors of John Mack Institute, and she's a part of that too. Anyway, really, really interesting book. Okay. And amongst her experiences is that there were many. She talks about regenerative chambers, also seeing a clone that wasn't her twin sister, and some medical healing going on and stuff like that during her experiences. But they also talk about Mars. They said they went to Mars, and that there was black people on Mars. There was a colony of black people there, but also more than that, there was a colony of these small beings that look like grays, but they're black and brown. And, that takes us into something else. Another picture I've given you of right there. There's a gentleman, the big head scientist on YouTube. And I believe that's Dr. Valentine.
Okay, but wait, Barry. That hat that he's wearing looks oddly familiar. And my grandfather was a Arab Shriner. And he wore a hat that had that symbol on it. It had sequins and rhinestones on it and stuff, though. Of course, it was fancy. But it looks a lot like that. And then you just showed that. We just showed it looks like a Freemason symbol right here. And, all right, what's going on now? We got to figure this out.
So you put that together.
There's something going on here. Oh, yeah. And also this. You sent me this picture, Marvin the Martian.
Yeah, well, check it out. I'll tell you the connection there. Okay, so the other picture, that's from the big head scientist, and I think he does channeling sometimes, or however he gets information. But this was interesting because that's supposed to represent a being that is a race from Tau Ceti, an exoplanet in Tau Ceti, and they colonized Mars. And they're supposed to be gray. They're not grays, but they're melanin dominant beings that look like that, and that they are represented in our entertainment by Marvin the Martian, who is actually very melanin dominant. But yeah, so that's supposed to be the representation there. Kind of like how when dealing with the Andromedan women with the dreadlocks, they're the Warriors race from Andromeda. They're supposed to be representing our entertainment too. Like Whoopi Goldberg is Guinan, or what's the chick on Walking Dead?
Oh yeah, Ben would
Michonne.
know.
Yeah, with the dreads, the dreads, that whole thing, or Storm from the X-Men.
Oh yeah, with the white hair.
Representative, and including also Wonder Woman too, because they're supposed to be female species. And I believe Wonder Woman, I don't think there's no men on Thera, I don't think. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh man. Andrew says, oh, Jessica Jones, Space Shriners. Yes, the Space Shriners, the year of aliens. Maybe it's all a secret society, so I don't know if somebody can chime in if you're part of it. Y'all let us know.
Tying that in also, tying the Olmec into that also, and I didn't give you a picture of that, I'm sorry, but the Olmec have the helmets that look very reminiscent of the Martians, the face on Mars. So okay, that's most all that stuff I want to get out there. Sorry it took longer than I thought, but I think it's worthy information. It's references there that anyone can look up, and it's cool. You don't matter what I say, look it up for yourself and put the connections together, and it is what it is.
That's pretty cool, Barry. Lots of interesting connections. I don't know. I'm seeing some Freemasonry symbolism, and then we've got old Buzz Aldrin liking to do. He loves that Illuminati symbol over his eye in his pictures, okay, and stuff like that. And I don't know. I'm just going to tuck that away in the back of my head tonight, okay, and not forget about it. But just put it back there, because there's some interesting data here, okay. And I've always felt like there was life on Mars. Why wouldn't there be? And as I've gotten older, I've even it's no secret. I went on a panel one time on Jock Doubleday's show, and he had asked some of his friends and people that he worked with if anybody had ever felt like they had ever had memories of living on Mars in a past life or anything. And I guess we had talked at some point. We were kind of joking around a little bit, and he and I were talking about how me and some of the people that are on my remote viewing team had mentioned, like I mentioned to him that we believe we might have had a past life on Mars together, and that is through some of the remote viewing and just having some memories of it, I guess you could say. And so he asked me to be a part of that panel. And when I went on that panel, it was wow, because there were, I think Tony Rodriguez was on there, and Tyler, and Lily Nova, and who else was on there? There were like 6 of us, I think, right? And I remember when it came my turn to talk, I was one of the last ones, I think, because I might have been the first. I can't remember, but I just remember sitting there and listening to everybody else's encounters or like memories or recalls, and mine was completely different than everybody else's. I was what I would, and this is just, I'm not saying that I had a past life there, but I believe I may have. Okay, and I was recalling like pyramids. Okay, and I didn't know the first thing about Mars, right? But what I saw was like ancient Egypt, and it was rich. I'm talking about green and luscious and vegetation everywhere and things like that. And I don't know, I was almost like in some kind of priest class or priestess class or something. You know what I mean? And that's what was in my memory. Okay, if you want to call it.
Question.
You want to call it that.
Were you humanoid? What were you?
Yes. Yeah, I was human, just like just like now. Yeah.
Tony's one of the people that I had done one of his shows. Nobody's really seen it, but we talked about a lot about different insectoid species. But he said he's been on Mars, and there's 2 different types of insectoids there. Now you've got 2 of those pictures too.
Oh yeah, the insectoid pictures.
Yeah. And he described as one of them being very, very hostile. And, that's what I'm seeing, where the similarities of what he's saying between, that's one there. I think he called that one Luna or something like that, a Luna type or something, as in maybe there's some of them on the moon too. I don't know. But and there's another one too that he said was even more of that one. He said that one is extremely vicious.
Yeah, that's like something out of a horror film to me, if that came up. I mean, I don't know. I've seen some weird stuff in my lifetime, okay, but I don't know if I want to see something like that. And especially it looks metallic. It's more robotic, right? It's one thing if like it's one thing if I could shoot it.
I'm sorry, I should be laughing.
I'm just saying. I look at everything in terms of can I shoot it? Okay. And will it be penetrated by my bullet? And that looks like it probably would not be. Okay. So that's
Jessica,
scary.
I know you don't watch many movies, but maybe do you remember the movie Mimic?
I never watched that. I don't think. I don't know.
Cockroaches in the subway.
No.
They look like some people standing there in trench coats. Really, these huge mutated cockroaches maybe hanging out in the subway.
Oh man,
there like they're people. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I'd rather see a big cockroach than one of those right there. I mean, we actually do have like crickets and stuff that look kind of like that here on Earth that are little. You know, people have plenty of times to put pictures on social media of what look like crickets or some kind of jumping bug that kind of looks like that. That looks like an alien body with like wings on it, but it's just tiny. It's like a little bug. So,
and, you know, and those are different mantids than commonly we hear about. I've heard about several different types, but those ones are different. Those aren't really mantids. I think there's something else. You know, to me, they almost look more like they have that. What is that second body part? Gosh, I keep wanting to say it's not a cicada.
It's butt.
Locust. Locust-like. Yeah, grasshopper, locust-like.
It's an alien grasshopper.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, so that's really interesting because I had thought about you when people were saying that the past life on Mars, and we had talked about that privately. You know, just the only thing they had said that they were in these advanced complex underneath, but they were like some type of insect. But they described this very advanced civilization, though, that was somewhat devoid of emotion as we know it. It's fascinating, you know, to hear stuff like that. That it's people's recall, the superconscious records all, you know.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And Firewater, thank you so much for the super sticker. You are so sweet. I appreciate your support. It says for plant medicine or plant research with dwarf. Well, thank you. I have to go do some plant research with dwarf now. I appreciate that. And I do appreciate that, though. Thank you. Oh, man. Okay, so your clients are recalling they're when they are under being hypnotized and you're doing a regression, they are describing being on Mars. Okay. Past lives.
And I especially would recur there in the life between lives, which is when you take someone back to where they're really young, then they start describing being in the womb. And then before that, they'll start telling you where they were. Then before that, okay, and that would normally be before that. It'll be, we talked about the place of translation and reconfiguration, but before that, it'll be their death and somewhere else. And they'll describe that life and they'll start describing, you know, something like that. And that's when you're like, okay, it's not Earth. Damn, it is what it is. And sometimes they don't. I have one person, they didn't say it was Mars, but the way they're describing it, you know, saying it's visible from Earth, it's red, things like that. I mean, it's
oh man,
but maybe it wasn't red back then. They said so. Anyway, so
well, there's plenty of people in the chat right now saying, you know, Egypt was green and tropical. And I know that when I have done targets, even for you, your targets about who built the pyramids, I'm seeing a green, luscious area. I'm talking about palm trees and grass and beautiful, beautiful scene of just vegetation everywhere and flowers and all that. So I believe through remote viewing, yes, Egypt was tropical and green and beautiful with flowers and all that. Yes.
There was a book it's the one book I can't seem to find anymore, but it's called The Waters of the Great Pyramids. And it was written by Abdul Mumin, probably in the 90s. And in that book, it talked about Egypt being fertile and very tropical like that. And then after a cataclysm, basically, you get the desert there of things. And then they started using the pyramids to actually draw water from the aquifer, the artesian well, when the Nile wouldn't inundate once a year. It's a fascinating book. I'm sure I don't have a copy of it anymore. But when that tropical thing, and I think our friend we have a mutual friend, Trevor Grassi. He's done a lot of work in Egypt and archaeology
Trevor.
and stuff. And he's talked about it being tropical also at one point.
Man, I can't wait to get Trevor on the show sometime. Oh my gosh, he would be perfect to have here. Actually, even
He's cool.
tonight.
He's
Yeah,
real cool.
he is. Yeah, I got to meet him down in Florida at the conference about 3 weeks ago or so, and he and his team are the ones who took those readings of sonar underneath the Great Pyramid of Giza that I had done some remote viewing on and stuff underneath there. And he was like, "Well, I'd love to look over your data for you, and I can." Yeah, make some connections here and there and stuff. So we'll get him on the show as soon as he gets back from Egypt. I think he went to Egypt recently.
Real quick, I'm just going to throw this in. I should probably say this, but it's so interesting because just yesterday I had a really great regression with somebody who is a fan of yours, and during this they were describing beings that were building pyramids that were giants, and that them being multidimensional. And that them still being present in Egypt right now, but it's on a different frequency. We can't see it on a frequency that is not eroded at all, like another Earth. It was fascinating. I mean, the stuff that comes out of these, I don't care how many of these regressions I do, I'd be feeling like I'm brand new every time because this technique is a technique, but I'd be like, ha ha, stuff people say and it comes out and how much it's convoluted information that we have. You know what I mean? But it's very much mimicked what you saw data-wise, and that's somebody that's never seen that show. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. That had nothing to do with Mars, but it's just cool though.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I mean, we're collecting data from everywhere. Okay, and just kind of bringing it together, and as things come up, we don't have to stay linear on the show at all by what we're talking about today, but we needed to connect the dots when they connect. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Do you want to go into the data, or do we want to talk about Mars?
That's supposed to be quiet. Absolutely, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Are you waiting for me?
Everybody knows what I got, so it's now a matter of what ties in. And I will say this before you get started. Okay. Damn, man! Again, I bit off more than I expected to chew. You know what I mean? Just it's interesting. I thought it would be a little different than what it was, but I thought it was fascinating, and it'll take us to a whole nother level with the data, I think. So go for it, my friend. And appreciate you doing that.
Well, okay, let's pull up this again, okay, because what you gave me as a remote viewing target is the Sidonia complex. That's all of these structures all together, correct? Let's just be like
the Sidonia complex. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically all of these things right here, the face, the pyramids. Let me get that one picture that I showed first today. Basically, well, hold on, let me get the picture from far back. This one right here. And so we got the face on Mars, we got the pyramids, we've got the city hall or city square, whatever they call it. Okay. We got the worm.
You say that. I think that's cool. City hall.
The city hall, the worm tunnels, all that. Okay. Whatever names they want to give all this stuff. It's the whole complex was this target. Okay. And the first target is the interior and the underground area of this whole complex. So under it, so it's not even the surface. We're going to do the surface on the second target. Should we do the surface one first, or do you want to just go straight into the underground stuff?
You go for it. You go for it. I'll make sure I gave you which one was which, but I think that's how it was.
Okay.
I told you.
Target number one, you said, was the under Cydonia. You said that was the first one. Okay. Let's just get into that. Let's just do it. Let's do it the way you gave it to me. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Is that cool?
Yeah. So don't get it's exciting either way, to be honest. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, these are always exciting. I think it's great. Okay. These are blind. This is a blind target. And all I got were a set of 8 numbers. And I'm going to read my sensory data. Okay. Part of my sensor, I'm going to read all of my sensory data tonight. Okay. And it is burst, busted, long, loaded, burned, hot, smoldering, active, haunted, and hunted. Okay, that's my sensory data. All right, so my analytic overlay, I heard fire in the hole. And then I wrote down mento or momento. So memento and the memento. I heard the name Alan. Explosion. I picked up on an explosion. I wrote treat and retreat. Okay, retreat, long way, away, action, live action role play, LARP, I wrote LARP. 0 point. I heard do it again. Stoic, storage, breeze, and then I heard the term, the phrase float in the breeze, and then military compound was the last thing I wrote on that first page. Now I have a drawing, and this is, I'll show the audience what I drew. That's my drawing. If you guys can see that, it just looks like three-dimensional figures, one big one and two small ones. Three-dimensional figures, which do actually look like what I'm remote viewing, actually. Okay, like those structures. What do you think so far, Barry? What would be your opinion on like my data so far?
Well, you know, to me, it sounds like you're describing something that is a result of a destruction on the surface.
An explosion. That's right.
Yes.
Smoldering hot, burned, burst and busted. Okay. Burst and busted.
Did you say military compound?
And a military compound, yes. That was the last thing I wrote down on that first page. Military compound. Yeah.
I mean, that's awful going along with kind of John Brandenburg, isn't it? Kind of in his field over there when he's talking about the nuclear devastation that happened on Mars.
That's the reason.
That's the reason for this interior.
Oh yeah. Hey Joey, what's up? Okay, so according to the first 3 stages of my remote viewing data, it seems as though there's been some kind of an explosion. Something happened where everything is very hot. Okay, very hot, and there was something that burned. Things are smoldering, and something busted. Fire in the hole. Okay, fire in the hole. That was the first thing I heard when I went into this target. Fire in the hole, and I wrote it down. Fire in the hole, and float in the breeze is another thing that I heard. Okay. All right. Let's see. Take that down. Okay. Let's go to stage 4 data. All right, some of I'm going to go back and forth. I'm going to go down the page instead of doing like all the sensory data and all the analytic overlay separate. I'm going to go down the page like I wrote it. Okay. So next thing I wrote was like the lottery and a jackpot. I wrote lottery, jackpot, and then I wrote crackpot. Lottery, jackpot, crackpot. I don't know what that means.
And then I wrote the numbers probably. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know, right? And then I started seeing. I wrote down for my sensory data. I was like green, moving, linear, and what I was seeing was binary code, like on the matrix. Okay, so green, moving, linear. I was seeing binary code, and I wrote down the matrix. Okay, so I was seeing like what you see on the movie The Matrix. Everything's moving up, down, or whatever, and then I wrote hologram. Okay, and then I saw white. And I wrote 3D hologram. And then the way I would describe it, it was a see-through hologram, and it looked futuristic, Star Wars style is what I wrote down. Star Wars style. And I was seeing what looked like I wrote working vibe, everyday life. That was the aesthetic as to where I was. I was standing somewhere that there were 3D holograms, and it was very futuristic, like I was in the movie Star Wars or some kind of futuristic movie. But people were working and people were just living everyday life wherever I was. Okay. And I wrote down the word stoic as part of my sensory data. And, but it was vast and open. It was a gigantic location. Okay. Gigantic. And I wrote grounded. So, I mean, I was obviously underground, I guess. This is an underground target. Okay, so that's my second page. What do you think about all that?
Man, see, this is the point where I was starting going, oh man, because okay, so to me, that undeniably sounds like a quantum synthetic environment, like a whole. I mean, like these whole jump rooms that all these SSP, some of these SSP people talk about, but you're talking about an environment like that and living quarters like that amongst, I think, probably whatever city environment you've got there. But that's something major going on there. When you're saying you're standing in the middle of that, you're describing one of those rooms to a great degree, three-dimensional holograms. And I think that with other civilization, they've got the ability to incorporate particle synthesis, which would probably be more than what I think maybe we can do here on this planet. But with particle synthesis, there would be no, without telling us not real, everything would be completely tactile. There wouldn't be no holographic element to it at all. So, anyway, food for thought. But I know that's what I get out of that. I mean, I think that confirms a lot for what a lot of people say, especially, look, the first person I heard talking about that, and the one that is really, I think, the originator of the jump rooms is Andrew Basago. And it was about 98, 99, he came forward, he's saying all that stuff. Maybe a few years earlier, I can't remember now. But just, food for thought on that. But what you just described is something that he was saying. So
really,
that's, I mean, to a degree, he talked about jump rooms. Like I said, those are called quantum synthetic environments. And that's kind of where the idea for the whole holodeck on Star Trek Next Generation came from.
Yeah.
It was always hanging on the holodeck. They didn't quite have particle synthesis yet, but they were getting close. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And now that you say that, yeah, holograms on the platforms and things like that. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well,
but that's like their civilization, a part of it too. Wow.
Yeah. So that was in the data for my stage 4 on page 2. Let's go to the next page. Okay. There's more. Okay. But something very futuristic. Okay. Now this is supposed to be millions of years ago though, right? But to me, what I'm looking at is very futuristic for our terms of
no. I just know those coordinates were not. But I will say this: when you do the surface, that was a million years, 2 million years ago.
Okay.
On the surface, that's different. Okay. What you viewed on the surface is different, but interior, no, that's kind of.
Is that
kind of here and now? That's kind of here and now. Yeah, that's okay. Good question. I sorry I didn't iterate that ever.
Okay, perfect. No, we need to know these things. That's great. Okay. Wow. Well, I actually, Arkeem had given me a couple of targets a while back, like about at least over a year ago. And it was a jump room to Venus and a jump room to Mars. And they were based out of Los Angeles, somewhere in like Santa Monica or somewhere like that. And, which is not technically Los Angeles, it's Santa Monica, but it's somewhere around there, somewhere around the ocean, I believe. And those are some interesting targets too. I got a whole show on that. So, and I do believe those are real according to the data. Okay. We got into that whole conversation on that show about the Hilton hotels and, any place that has like a nautical star in the foyer of like the lobby of whatever place you're walking into. Usually that is an indicator that there is a jump room in that location. Okay. And guess who has one in their lobby on all the pictures of the 3-letter agency, the CIA? They have a big nautical star in their lobby, in their headquarters. Okay. So of course they do. All right, let's go to the third page. Okay. So I wrote down, I heard effort made. And then my sensor data was something was stashed, hidden, and programmed. Stashed, hidden, and programmed. And then I got into robotics. Robotic, electronics, and electronic. My tangibles were like electronics, circuit board, and a motherboard, and motherboards. Circuit board, motherboard, electronic. I drew a circle. And I wrote down beside it ship with a question mark and a craft with a question mark. And I was seeing something that was round, circular, oval shaped. and I wrote down artificial intelligence or AI, and I heard business as usual, move along. Like I was basically shooed out of there. It's business as usual, move along. And so I got out of there. I didn't know where I was or what I was doing. And anytime you will notice there is a pattern whenever I get that data and it's like, get out, I pretty much kind of get out. Okay. I don't stick around unless I'm just really curious.
So you're describing a factory of, is it correct? Kind of
a place with AI. It seemed as though I was
AI factory.
I was looking at a big ship or something is what it looked like. I mean, something circular. And I was trying to figure out if I was looking at a ship or a craft, but there were a lot of electronics. It was some kind of like center of, I don't know how to describe it. Some sort of like a center of operations, let's just say. Center of operations, stuff that I don't understand because I've never experienced it in my human form here. But some kind of center of operations with a whole bunch of, I don't know, buttons and data and I don't know, like a information room, a data center or something, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what a data center looks like, but that phrase has come up lately. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's about it. That's pretty much all my data right there. I mean,
okay. Oh, that's it. That's it.
That's about it. Yeah. That's about it. That's all my data. Okay. And I stopped the target right there. I was told to move along. Move along now.
You know what? You want to go to the other one?
Yeah, we can go to that next
one.
Surface? Okay.
You know, and I will say that some of the data you were getting on that, I thought might even be current. And when I say that, when you come to that part of the data, I'll just mention why. I mean, it's just interesting. So it's something that was, I think, going on in the past and present. But anyway, we'll when you get to that part of the data, I'll mention it again. So.
Okay. All right. So you want to go to the next one. So that was underneath this complex.
The interior of the Cydonia complex.
That was the interior, full of
underneath.
Life, everyday life, teeming with life, business as usual, holograms, 3D stuff. It is lived in by somebody, and it was humans, I think. Okay. And it's a military compound.
Humans. Okay. Gotcha.
Military compound.
That's all you sensed was humans?
That's what I was sensing. I thought it was like humans. Yeah. It was, I mean, I literally wrote down military compound. So yeah, live action role play too. It's funny. I don't know. I thought that was kind of fun because it was almost like what I was seeing, okay, there was a lot of action going on there. But when I write live action role play, like what I think of when I see that, it's like people that like dress up and costumes and pretend play like they're fighting like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. Like, I don't know. It was just in my data. I'm just saying. Yeah. Okay.
Role playing for the holodeck.
Yeah. Yes. That's only
that was Star Trek. They dressed up for it on Star Trek.
Okay, but that is only how I was interpreting it. Okay, and that's what analytic overlay is. Okay. All right. So this is the external area of the Cydonia complex, the outside. We're going to move on to the next target.
A million years ago.
So this is a million years ago.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
there's sensory data. I've got 2 million I've got down there. So.
Dang. That's old.
Yeah. Well, I think it's more valid if we're dealing with nuclear disaster of some type. We got to go back to see what it was really like,
Yes. Okay. All right, let's go into this. Okay, so my sensory data is moving, stirring, circling, binding, important, patient, rhythmic, found and fried. Okay, so I wrote down, some of my analytic overlay was transportation, circular, monumental, metal, alarm. Because I was hearing alarms. I was hearing an alarm going off when I was doing this. I heard somebody say, dug a hole, cadence on the beat. And what I was experiencing, it sounded like a train on the train tracks, like it was almost, I don't want to say robotic, but like industrial sounding. I was hearing something that was like industrial sounding, almost like some kind of big industrial machinery or something. I was hearing like alarm going off and like industrial stuff. And I wrote down sounds like train on tracks. I wrote down cook, heat, radiation, above / below, above and below. I wrote Van Meter and Van Allen. And that was, those were my first 2 stages of remote viewing data. Yes. And for the drawing, this is what I drew for the drawing right here, my sketch. It's just like a swirl or like a tunnel and like arrows going. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have to mean anything. But that's what I drew. But that's interesting. We're getting cook, heat, and radiation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what could have happened to Mars, right? If they got hit by a nuclear explosion.
You know, I think also it's interesting because you mentioned in there also you're getting both underground stuff going on already, you know, like above maybe it's interesting. It almost seems like preparation. So opposed to it being maybe a war, was there something else going on? Like, you know, that's interesting. Something that we're preparing for 1 million years in advance. It almost sounds that way. Or maybe it was just basic industrial, you know, accomplishment. I don't know. Food for thought again. I don't have the answers, but getting more questions, if anything, I guess.
Mm-hmm. What about the Van Allen? I wrote Van Allen down. That's interesting because don't we have a Van Allen belt that they say we can't? Some people say you can't get through the Van Allen. You can't get to outer space or go to the moon because the radiation will burn you up, right? Through that Van Allen belt.
Yeah, magnetic radiation belt. Yeah. You know, I've mentioned before that in some of my experiences, some of the metals that are used to make the composites that grow these ships, the metals are from planets that are devoid of Van Allen belts and sometimes atmospheres too. And they get bombarded by something like, you know, a red star or something. The metal would get bombarded by something with radiation, solar radiation, unknown here on Earth, you know, given the properties unknown here. It's, you know, very interesting.
Oh, interesting.
It takes us into metamaterials, what they call that now. You know?
Okay. Well, I did write down monumental, which I find very cool because there's all these monuments there, right? So I don't know. Little Easter egg right there. Okay. Well, let's go to stage 4 of my data. Okay. So the next page I actually wrote down. So I was obviously seeing a desert is what I thought I was seeing. So I wrote down the Saudis in the Middle East. Okay. I actually thought I was in the Middle East during this target. Okay. The Middle East, I wrote down Saudis, Middle East programs, and Stargate. Interdimensional was part of my sensory data, and I wrote interdimensional travel. And I actually wrote what looks like a doorway. It looks like what is that? A phone booth? Wait, isn't that one of like the TARDIS?
The TARDIS.
Wait, is that did I draw the TARDIS?
Kind of, or
is
maybe
what that is?
Maybe the phone booth for Bill and Ted. I don't know.
Exactly. It looks like one of those tubes that you put at the teller when you go to the bank, and it sucks it up through the tube when you put your money in there. You know, your driver's license, whatever.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah,
that's what that looks like. That's kind of what I drew, but it looks like a doorway though. Okay, and I wrote interdimensional travel, transdimensional was the next thing I wrote down, and a vessel. Okay, so here we go. Let me start this all over so I go Stargate, interdimensional travel, transdimensional vessel, tubular and cylindrical. Tubular cylindrical vessel is what I wrote down. And then And then I wrote this. This looks kind of like a portal or something that it's just a circular thing. I'm sorry, my camera is so blurry, y'all. But
do
it
you
almost
think
looks
this
like a
ties? Do
portal.
you think this ties? Let me ask you a question before you go further. Just real quick, let me interject. Do you think that that the tubular things you're saying ties into the hoagies, not sandwich?
Yeah, it could. It 100% could. I mean,
because those
this
could
is
very well be transport tubes as
because
well.
we got that. It's tubular. Yes, I wrote. Okay, 100%. Here, let's pull those pictures up. Hold on. Let me take these down real quick. It 100% could be tubes, tubular. Yeah, tubes.
Transduction corridors, what they call that on science fiction. Yeah.
You know what? And that could be that pattern of that thing, that round thing that I drew too. It could be the pattern like we're seeing in these things as well. Okay, the ribs over the hoagie, ribs underpassing hoagie. They look like worms, but those are the hoagies. I like that name though. Well, that's interesting because look, so there's that, and then I'm drawing something that's got like these little lines all over it, and they're kind of all over the place, and they're we've got that thing right there. It's shaped like a tube.
And Richard Hoagland calls them actually glass worms.
Wow.
Tubular glass worms.
I'm picking up on something, whatever this is, whatever this tubular thing is that I've drawn is the Stargate. It is it's a vessel for interdimensional travel. I'm not saying that is a Stargate, but there's some kind of interdimensional travel, transdimensional tubular cylindrical vessel. Okay, is what I was picking up on. I actually wrote down blurry. Oh my God, that's weird because I just said I'm sorry. My video thing is so blurry. I actually wrote blurry in my data. I wrote down rerun. I don't know why. I don't know what rerun has to do with this, but rerun. And then I wrote crisscross grid. Okay, a crisscross grid, which is interesting because didn't they say in the intro? I was like, well, it looks like a pattern, basically a grid pattern of like urban living or something, right? Or urban architecture, or urban planning or something. I can't remember what I said. But it looks like there was intentional living going on there on that planet, building and stuff like that.
With a very large vessel in the middle of it, in the middle of town, it sounds like.
Yeah.
A
crisscross grid.
vessel.
I mean, if you look at, let's take Atlanta, for instance, right? Any kind of major city, in Atlanta, the streets are going to be in a grid pattern, right? The streets, all the buildings are all going to be like in a grid pattern. New York City, Manhattan, Los Angeles, Chicago, anywhere. The cities are going to be almost like in a grid pattern. Okay, crisscross grids. And
when you say that, I think about those kids. One was the Daddy Mac, the other was the Mac Daddy.
Crisscross.
Sorry,
he's the Miggity Mac Daddy, and the biggity back.
Oh,
yes, because they make you want to jump.
That you're going to come to where that's I think a relevant picture right there.
I was trying to.
There's
Okay,
two of them I gave.
This one right here.
There's certain things of your data. Okay, what that is those are all the satellites that we sent to Mars.
Oh my gosh! Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, are they still there now? All of them?
Where are they going to go? I don't know how many of them come back. Probably not that many.
Probably not. Probably right. Shoot. That's a lot of satellites.
Yeah.
We should have a lot more data on Mars then, instead of just a couple of blurry pictures of the Cydonia complex.
Well, there are a lot. There's some that I didn't send over because it was just too much. It was going to be too much. But they're things that they've seen on that they think are artificial intelligence and things of that nature. And a cache looks like a trash can actually. Now I think about that. God, I don't have that picture. It looks like a trash can, somewhat like what you actually drew. Now that I think about that, yeah.
My drawing look like a trash can. Oh,
it was something that was captured by the rover.
Okay.
Oh wow. Sorry, I'm looking at all my pictures here trying to find it.
Oh
from
man.
one of the Kimberleys, as they called it.
We have a question in the chat while you're looking for that. Poncho wants to know if I've seen Starlink in the sky yet. I have seen Starlink multiple times. Multiple. It's weird. I've seen it so many times. I saw it when we were at the Skinwalker Cave investigation up in Tennessee. We saw it one night trotting through a soybean field. And some of the guys did not know what it was, and it was wild. If they hadn't been with us, they would have lost their minds. Okay. If I hadn't been there to tell them what it was, I don't know what would happen. And then it's passed over the house a couple of times too, low flying over the house. So I have definitely seen it. And hey, Renee.
Yeah, and that's part of the whole nano satellite grid thing.
Yeah.
There's a ton of those. I mean, there's so much. I can't remember. I had a number of how much hardware is in Earth we have, and space we have. It's an unreal amount to where it's really dangerous.
Yes, because Earth is the outer space is such a tiny space. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Oh, man. Renee says, as of August 2023, there have been 18 spacecraft missions operating in Mars orbit, 7 of which are currently active. Thank you, Renee.
That's just cool information right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Renee always brings the knowledge, man. I appreciate it. And, man, okay. So lots going on around there. Some say there's already people living there. They've got like soldiers living there, and the Space Force, super soldiers, whatever. It's all over there already. We still have more data. I have another page of data.
Yeah, that's what I was going to. I was let you knock it out. So I wasn't saying nothing.
Okay,
it gets really interesting. Interesting.
Okay, so here we go. So I just hit the transdimensional, interdimensional travel vessel, tubular, cylindrical vessel, and crisscross grid. The next thing I wrote down was a format, because what I was seeing was like a grid, which could be a map of some sort, but I was seeing a grid pattern and a crisscross grid pattern, and then part of my sensor data was like squeezed tight, and so and after that I wrote vehicular and studious. Something to do with mental gymnastics, I wrote down. Okay. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but educational setting. So so for my aesthetic, for my aesthetic impact, which is like, what does it look like where I'm standing right now? Okay. Like, what does it look like? Where am I? I was in I wrote down educational setting, like a school, a conference room, I don't know, a conference area, something that was educational. And I was feeling a little confused about it. And then I wrote down, I was like, we're not getting the full truth. Okay. That was in my data, not getting the full truth, but it's hidden in plain sight and hidden. And then the last thing I wrote was rover.
Really?
Rover. That was the last thing I wrote down. And then I ended the session. So rover was in my data for a blind target of Mars on this,
it's the rover that caught a lot of that anomalous stuff, including the trash can thing. I'm sorry I couldn't find it on there, but you was that all the data for that one?
That was all my data. Yes.
Okay. That's when you started talking about the vehicles. Is when I was like, Lord, is she seeing current? Based on one of those pictures I gave you, is all the robots they have actually on the surface. Yeah, but anyway,
it says vehicular, so some kind of vehicle was there. Yeah. And then I wrote rover, about, that was at the top of the page. At the bottom of the page, I wrote rover. So so I was seeing a vehicle rover, basically, I guess is what I was seeing. Because it said vehicular. Something that was and I wrote studious as well. So something that was studying, maybe it's like the rover was studying whatever, Mars, I guess. That's what I was picking up on there. So,
well, I mean, considering this was 1 million years ago, though, I think it's probably something else, don't you? And there's something I wanted to hear. I'm trying to get this together here now.
Okay. Renee says 10 spacecraft successfully landed on Mars and did scientific operations after landing. These include both landers and rovers. 6 were rovers that were deployed from a lander. Interesting. Thank you.
A lot of pictures of them self-cleaning themselves, too. Quite
really?
Interesting. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The
I
rover
need
cleans
that
itself.
for my truck. I need a self-cleaning truck.
Well, that takes
That'd
us
be
into
nice.
self-replicating and self repairing machines.
Mhm.
Hey, I just put a picture on there. Can you see that down there?
Yes, I sure can. Let me pull it up.
Okay. The data brought that to mind. I was guided to that book when I was like in the like 5th grade. Okay, and on that he shows a lot of pictures. This is way before Richard Hoagland, right? And he's showing pictures of what he said he thought were machines on the moon, and also these tracks, like these tractor tracks almost type, but these machines that
Yes.
he said were ancient and
Yeah.
no longer functioning. And when dealing with what you're talking about, I think it's a similarity there. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Richard Hoagland also didn't just do the Monuments of Mars. He also did Dark Mission, which is all about the moon and the far side of the moon. It's not really dark; it's just the far side to us. But he talked about the tower back there and the tower, the castle, and some other anomalous things back there. And I do believe, I'm not sure, but I think we did a show over that too.
About the backside of the moon with that crash ship, we talked about the EBE Mona Lisa. That's on the
Was that
moon.
it? Yeah, I remember that one. I guess that would
Yep,
kind of be tied in. Maybe
that was it.
sorry, I can't remember. We've done so many. Even I'm getting confused.
Yeah, well, we've done more, but I've always been so hesitant about the moon stuff. Okay, so
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
yeah, but
Yeah,
we did do that one. We
that
did
ain't
do that
nothing
one.
really going to happen. I
Yeah,
think
ain't
about
nothing
now.
gonna
That's
happen.
just more hype than reality right
I
now.
know.
There's
I
too
wouldn't
many
be here
people,
right now
people talking right
if that
now
were an
about the
issue.
moon. It's ringing like a bell. This other thing, William Shatner. It's ringing like a bell.
I
So
know. I know, right? I know. I don't fear anything. It was just I had been asked at some point by my remote viewing team to not go there. Okay, and so
that was
that's
before
part of the
you were
reason
the
too.
new Jessica. That was
Yeah.
before you the new
Now
Jessica
I
to
just
break
don't
the
care.
rules. You
I
break the
know
rules.
something
Yeah,
happened. I break all the rules now. Break all the rules. I think I've just I've seen where being nice gets me, and not going the distance and stuff. And it's I mean people are gonna go get mad at me no matter what I do. Okay, so let's just go full throttle. Okay, so
well,
as long as I'm here,
that's
we're going
interesting
full
stuff that
throttle.
comes up about the moon. And
Yeah.
it's I've heard so many experts on it now. But another book that I didn't give you was hold on, let me see if I can pull that one up real quick. And I think it's worth talking about real quick. And I've mentioned it before, but never actually showed it. So
Okay. Renee
um,
says there are other things that don't add up, which has shown the rovers from angles which a single machine couldn't accomplish way before they sent the drone. Many sightings of craft on the horizon. Interesting. Thank you, Renee. Appreciate that. Yeah. You're trying to get the picture pulled up?
yeah. Go ahead, keep talking. I can hear you though. I mean,
Okay. Well, I see we have a wonderful chat going on tonight too, by the way. I want to thank everybody for being here. And that's what Juan just said. Area 51. Thank you for being here too. Thank you to all of my moderators tonight for being here. And in Cryptoville, we're all full of useless movie knowledge. Okay, I don't have as much as most people. Okay, but unless it's Talladega Nights or something like that. But
what'd you say?
I said unless it's Talladega Nights, I can quote that whole movie. Okay, but other than that, I don't know all my movies that well.
There it is. Sorry. Always was supposed to show it. I didn't have the ability before. You see it now? There he is.
Oh, okay. And Brandon says nobody should listen to NASA. Never straight answer. Okay. Thank you, Brandon. All right. Which one are we doing? It's this one.
There, right there.
Okay.
Okay. That's by Edgar Mitchell. Okay. And I mentioned before that he started something called Quantrek. And Quantrek in that book there, he's talking about that before they went to the moon, they were trained to remote view. And he talks about when they got there, they were remote viewing. So it's just stuff like that, you don't hear commercially at all. It's fascinating. It's behind that and a lot of that, that Ray Hernandez had founded the CCRI, or what it used to be called Free Foundation Research for Extraterrestrial Encounters. So it was behind Edgar Mitchell. So just food for thought on that. Everybody talks about Buzz Aldrin and stuff like that, but nobody really listened to what that man said or that part of his testimony. Food for thought. Since we're talking about RV, I think that's. And of course, the quantum hologram is beings that you use that exist on the outside of the Mako. I think I've explained that about 1 billion times on here, so I won't. I'll spare everybody. But the quantum hologram is dealing with that, and also when coming back from the moon, he had described what we've talked about before, the barbecue effect. Because the shuttle, it's like turning. The module is turning. Oops. And so it doesn't burn on one side. And that's the older one there. Yeah. But anyway, But
I hit the wrong button.
During that time, he said he had looked out of the window, and apparently, when you're outside of the atmosphere, there's much more light in space than we're told. And he started saying that all these stars started swirling in the window, and suddenly he started feeling some type of euphoria, and that every one of those stars, numerous stars. In numerous stars were connected to an actual molecule of his body. And and that's something that he experienced on the turning back as that thing was coming back. So, it's just things like that I think are very, worth mentioning.
His body might have been, I don't mean to interrupt, but he might have been releasing a little GHB. Remember we talked about that with the missing persons cases? And an entity might have poked his gland or something.
John, where are you coming from?
Release some chemicals in him. I don't know. Just saying.
You might as well say the man was on there eating ayahuasca. I don't think that's what.
Yes.
It's just some type of false euphoria he felt. Yes. In connection with creation and coming back. I think it's just worthy.
So it was more of a spiritual moment. Sorry.
You should be laughing. You should be cracking jokes about it. There's some entity, some organization that can trigger the GHB in our body to go into overflow, and then we get all messed up and get dropped in lakes, and drown. That's terrible.
It's horrible. But I thought of that when you said that. I was like, well, maybe something triggered something inside of him to release some kind of chemical to have that kind of reaction. You know what I mean? Just saying.
No, not really. It's all right.
Dang it. Just thinking outside the box.
Very. Way outside the box. No, I'm just kidding.
I did add that the entity did it too. An entity poked his gland or something there. So I don't know.
So tell me, given the past, what you saw of Cydonia back then, I mean, that's very, very advanced. That sounds like that's type 1 civilization for sure, And I found what you said about that craft. It sounds like half of the ship half of the city half of the complex revolved around that craft. And I wonder if that's one of the structures that we're seeing there, or if that could have been the tubes themselves that all connected, making that craft. It makes my mind spin a little bit. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it just makes you wonder, and it's part of the data for some reason. And I'm not even whatever I was seeing in the data. I wrote a question mark beside it, like a question mark, like could this be a craft or some kind of a vessel or something too? Wait, you're talking about the tubular thing, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, the interdimensional vessel.
Several he had identified, but what if they're all connected and just submerged? It's the craft itself. Who knows?
Yeah.
Something else that Richard Hoagland brings up is he talks about Phobos, which is Mars's moon, and that it's got unusual properties to it also. And, I can't remember exactly what he said. I'm sorry. But anyone can look that up for himself. Richard Hoagland on Phobos.
Interesting. Okay, well, let's see. Renee says recent research using data from the InSight lander has detected strange mass anomalies hidden beneath Mars's surface, particularly in the northern polar plains. Strange mass anomalies hidden beneath its surface. Well, we've detected some weird things under the surface tonight, too.
We know there's water there. I gave you a water map.
Do we have a water map to show the audience?
Yeah, it's on those things.
Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Is this it? The water map. Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, Mars at one point was what a blue and green planet like the Earth, right?
Well, it sounds like to me, even as far back as 1,000,000 years ago, it was a desert. At least in Cydonia, you were not describing a tropical place. You said you thought you were in
Middle East,
Saudi Arabia. Isn't that what you said?
I said Saudis. I said Saudis, and Saudis. I didn't say Saudi Arabia. I said Saudi. So that's people, right? Saudis, and then I wrote Middle East. So, I mean, that would tell me if I'm analyzing this data. Well, it looks like there's Saudis there, people that live in Saudi Arabia. Okay, so. But they're Martians. Okay, I've always felt like I have always inherently felt. I've always inherently felt like there's a connection to Mars and Egypt, ancient Egypt, and it's just whatever that connection is. I don't know. Maybe the Martians fled to Earth. Okay, maybe they fled to Earth and set up shop and started building all these pyramids.
Complex. It was more the Mayans.
Yeah.
Mayan and some Aztecs as well, but more the Mayans. Yeah, it's interesting. So you're not far off there. We start dealing with all these different temples because we hear so much about Egypt and everyone focuses on Egypt, but there are pyramids all over the world. A couple that are bigger in Peru, I believe, than the Great Pyramid. Am I not incorrect about that?
The largest one is it Cholula or something? It's like that. It's my favorite hot sauce. Okay, and it's in Central America, I believe. It's bigger than the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's the largest in the entire world. So yeah, there are thousands. When I say thousands of pyramids all over North, South, and Central America. There's thousands of pyramids. Okay, and they are, I guess, they are Mayan, Aztec, Inca.
I'm trying to think how many Mayan pyramids are there actually.
Mm-hmm.
Temples, rather. I'm sorry. I could just ask real quick.
Oh my gosh. Let's see.
She just gave me 4,000 Mayan sites in Central America.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. That's where So what they're supposing is that is the culture that was on Mars. They were saying there was a connection there between the symbolism and the geometric structures they're drawing that. And now throwing in with what there's got a Mason factor there somehow that connects to here to maybe even Tau Ceti brown grays. Well, then I guess that's a bad way to brown extraterrestrials from Tau Ceti that are smaller that represent Marvin the Martian in cartoon land.
And the ones that wear the Shriner hats, the Year of Shriner aliens.
Yes. And you've got the what they so it's very interesting, when dealing with that. There's as my mother used to say, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yes, for sure. If anybody was not here earlier today when we showed this picture, this is really interesting. This is what Barry was showing us earlier. I just find these interesting connections here. We've got the alien with the Shriner looking hat right there, and the Grand Poobah right there is who that is. That's the Grand Poobah, and also what looks like a Freemason compass right there as well on the surface of Mars. Okay, so Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? And
And I'm sorry
Yeah.
that I didn't give you a picture of the Olmec head, but the Olmec head, looks so similar to what
the
you've got
face.
on Mars. And and actually, and one, like I mentioned, one side of that face you can't see very good. One part of it is dark. And they're saying that actually that's eroded, and that's where it starts favoring the Venus mask or the Mayan jaguar mask.
Now, how big would this be, Barry? Like if this were a monument here on Earth, like is this mass the size of the pyramid of Giza? Like, or bigger?
That's a good question. Wouldn't it be
what
bigger?
size would this be?
That's a Jock Doubleday question. Yeah, there's another one. That's the individual that had took the that other lander in 1996 that said it was the surveyor, the Mars Global Surveyor, that said that it was just absolutely eroded mesa only. And that gentleman there, and that's Tom Van Flandern, I believe. He wrote a book on missing planets and stuff. But he compares it to that mound here on Earth. So this is interesting, I find this like comparisons like that interesting.
Oops.
There's that's from the Cydonia, right there. See the jaguar mask, and they're comparing that to the pictures from that surveyor.
Oh wow, right, that's pretty cool.
So in that way, them trying to say it was just an eroded mesa even brings up more questions and more similarities. So
it does. Well, there are also people that say, well, this is just all pareidolia. Okay. Now, being a cryptid field researcher and a podcaster, I know what pareidolia is. Okay. Okay. We get it a lot. We know pareidolia. Everything looks like it's got a face in it. Okay. And a lot of people send me pictures of bushes and they look like they swear there's a Bigfoot in it. And I'm trying to make out faces in bushes. And I'm like, I don't see it. But anyways, I'm just saying. But this, could this, I mean, there's been too much research done at this point. Okay. And we just did these blind targets of this. I think these are definitely structures on Mars. There's people there. Okay. There are people, humans there, I believe. They've been there. They're there now. I think
it's interesting how much that came up opposed to the insectoid thing. We mostly humanoid or quote unquote like Tal Ceti small humanoids that's come up more than anything else during this whole thing we've done here. I found that very interesting, and the possibility too. What you showed there is that right now, I think currently they're using that as for these quantum jump rooms. What's underground there, but connecting it here through the surface also. I think it's very interesting. I think that's been going. What that implies, that's been going on a long time, and more than that, that's really the mode of transportation for higher civilizations. My brother's had an experience that was similar. That he was in some type of a bubble on some craft, and he could see these different portals, and one of them was like leading to somewhere he thought was Africa or something. And he was seeing like tribesmen in different scenarios on each tube. So stuff like that, and it's similar to what you're saying. It's very interesting to me. Very interesting.
Yes, Max Life says the largest pyramid on the face of the Earth is actually the Gargantuan Black Pyramid in Antarctica. I believe I remote viewed a Black Pyramid, right? But I thought is that Alaska? I thought maybe I did the one in Alaska. Maybe it's
a Black Pyramid. I gave you that target. Yeah.
Yeah, you gave me that one. That's right. Tanya and I both remote viewed that. And that's one of the highest watched remote viewing shows on my playlist, actually, for remote viewing. That was a popular show.
You both identified the substance on it being similar to Vanta Black. Vanta Black and Vanta Black 2, I think we've got now, that it's actually used phenomelanin and eumelanin to actually absorb all light. It's very interesting material. And that's what you're describing back then, so.
And we were both seeing hieroglyphic type writing on the inside and the outside of this thing. But it wasn't, I don't know if it looked Egyptian, but it wasn't. Okay.
Earth files and all them say that that's supposed to be enough to power the continent. Generate the power from that thing.
Okay, that's interesting because that's what Tanya and I were both getting. Remember, she said that what she was seeing was like a pyramid facing down, and there, I was seeing the pyramid facing up, like out of the ground. She was seeing the one that was facing. She said it was like a diamond shape, kind of, or a Merkaba, almost. And it was almost like there was a power source in the middle, and it was shooting power up and power down, or maybe it was pulling power from the ethers and shooting it down. I don't remember exactly, but it's a cool show. If you guys want to go back and watch it, it's been at least 3 years since we did that. At least 3
God,
years.
that's been that long, hasn't it?
Yeah, at least 3 years. It's been a while, and I haven't seen that show. I haven't gone back to that Target in a long time. We haven't gone back to it. But thank you for that comment, Max Life. I'm glad that you reminded me of that. Actually, Andrew would like to know what could have possibly happened to Mars that got it to where it looks like that now, Barry. Was it? I mean, we didn't really. Okay, so my first target I went over, something obviously exploded. There was something tragic that happened there that was hot, smoldering. It left everything hot, smoldering, and basically unlivable, I guess. And that's why everybody went underground. People were living underground in Mars, or either they evacuated the planet, right, Barry?
Yeah. Again, you know what we talked about earlier at the beginning, the work of John E. Brandenburg, the theoretical plasma physicist. He talks about that. He believes he wrote that book that we had put up, The Death of Mars. We still want to put that one back up.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And during that, what he talks about, it says it's a planetary nuclear massacre. And he bases that on the fact that there's an element called xenon 129 isotopes that comes from a thermonuclear explosion in very high levels in the Martian atmosphere. And also there's surface radionucleotides that are radioactive substances such as uranium, thorium, there's radioactive potassium there they found. And these things, and also the red hue of it, shows a radiation nuclear fallout, and that the face of the Mars and other things appear to be deteriorated in such a way. So he's saying that there was some type of a nuclear war there. And the illustrations I've shown from him is he thinks a ship came up, a large craft came up and basically bombed him with hydrogen type bomb, nuclear radiation. Something, similar to something like what happened at what is it here in the desert here in Nevada? They were blowing up those bombs.
Mm-hmm.
But something similar to that, but on a larger scale. They created that xenon 129. So that's the thesis he had, and that's one of the people I'd always took interest in what he was saying. And I mentioned before, because when I first started hearing him, who he was, it's been years ago, but he was talking about that they could control portals, and that they were making black holes through high energy plasma in laboratories.
Whoa. Oh, man. Almost like they're doing it like CERN, maybe? Or I don't know exactly what they're doing at CERN.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the way that they're describing doing those laboratories is different than a hadron collider, but that's another way to do it too. So I mean, it's just different ways that we're finding out to create MACOs, magnetically internally collapsing objects. The universe, the fabric, the hard drive in the universe. And so when we start dealing with really this jumping from place to place, I did a video a while ago, something called electron hole propulsion, which is where not just are you pulling and wrapping the gravity and the space around the craft, you're actually generating a hole, going through the hole and then pulling through the mass itself. It's a different way. But I mean, it's all warp physics. That's stuff people can look up, you know what I mean? And we don't think that's not enough real credit given to that and physics and what's going on in the mainstream, what's transparent, because it's science and people don't care. They want fantasy. You know that.
Oh,
the hell with the science. Give me the fantasy.
well, I get it. I get it. Okay. But, well, okay. Renee says they've been there for many decades. Spaceflight has been since the German programs. The ability to manipulate time is not new. The ability to fold space is doable. And that's one of Renee's specialties. I know that because I've talked to him personally before about this.
Space is naturally folded. If you deal with anything that's an object like Earth, it creates drag frame. Okay,
Oh, we talked
inertial
about
drag
that
frame,
before.
which is actually, which goes over, and that creates closed time-like curves.
Okay.
Closed time-like curves is what's the beginning of time travel, both backwards and forwards. That's something they've known for a very, very long time. Okay, so yeah, but when dealing with different technologies for different civilizations, the manipulation of time is not that big when you're dealing with Makos. And actually, what I've said before, a quantum hologram, just from that picture you had showed, that book, but actually the quantum hologram itself, when dealing universally, okay, is the Akashic records. That Mako is the mechanism inside the black hole that holds the information. That's the quantum hologram itself. And I've said before, civilizations that may be like type 5 or 6, man, they're long out of existence in a way that we understand it, but they can still connect with us through our brain waves and through the Makos to operate on quantum conscious waves, spherical and helical. And right, we got those microtubules in our brain. The mirror neuron network reflects what I've said about the quantum hologram. So when you start dealing with actually not just the Mako, but the makeup of space, it's a lot of way the DNA of our creator. You know what I'm saying? The helix of our creator. Look at how the Milky Ways and these things are constructed. It's very interesting. We start dealing with what creature, what being we actually emanate from, especially on the soul creation level. Where does our soul come from? The immortal soul.
Whoa.
Anyway,
Well, that's getting deep. That's getting deep. Renee says this weak magnetic field is believed to have contributed to the loss of Mars's atmosphere over billions of years. So you're talking about that drag, I guess. Steve says like putting a bowling ball in the middle of a mattress.
Similar, yeah, or a whirlpool, like bringing something down, but and there's it's very interesting when dealing with real time science that is not so much fantasy, and what they found, some things that like don't hold up, like the grandfather clause, things like that don't seem to be, when you go back into the past, you become part of the past. But if you change anything, you go to alternate timeline. You don't go where you came from. It changes.
Oh, God.
So I mean, it gets very interesting, and when talking about these beings, which is something else you've remote viewed, which is that temporal commission I've talked about, that I've actually encountered these beings. I don't know, and I had to eat crow because they're like these Nordics, the ones I saw. You looked at that, and what they're doing, though, I think even calling them before time cops, it's more accurate to call them historians, because they've got these devices, and what you described as seeing under interior of Mars would also be a type of a chronovisor on a different level. And the deal that I had saw, which is that on board that craft, I take it to be a recording device, but it was holographic too when this thing opened up and I could see everything. Okay, but it's a perfect way to record history. And for the most part, a lot of the craft we see, a lot of them, man-made or not, especially the further back you go, they're not really interfering, a lot of them, outside of just being observed. People go, whoa. But outside of that, they're not changing our timeline because you saw the UFO. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's very interesting when we start dealing with real historians and what future thing happens and what's coming back or not. And that takes us over into J-Rod and some of the other things that may or may not be real. J-Rod said he was from the future when there was a cataclysm and humans went underground and turned into insectoid-like. But if you check out Randall Carlson's work, and he talks about the end of the Dryas period, it's the exact same thing. Okay, so and that takes us into the Hopi and the bee people and all that. I don't think that things aren't always the separate classifications we want them to be, Jessica. Sometimes all this stuff ties in so close it's unreal. Or I'm over here. I might be cooked, but I don't think so.
I think you're on something. Well, Max Life says we currently have 2,500 to 5,000 military on Mars, taken there by small and large TR-3Bs, I think, or 3/8. I can't see. Transports in 33 minutes. That's an interesting number, 33, considering there's a Freemason symbol on Mars, and the aliens there are wearing Shriner hats. I'm just saying. That's pretty wild. Okay, let's get into this topic for just a minute, because I know I'm dying to hear what you have to think about this. Okay, according to my data, with military compound being there, and Max Live is saying we currently have up to 5,000 military personnel there on Mars. What do you think about the secret space program stuff? Because I know that there's been testimony of people that are in the secret space programs that claim to be on Mars and stuff like that. What do you think about that? Do you think it's probable?
I told you before, I was trying to help connect some dots and support some of those people's testimony with this. Like somebody had accused me of being against SSP people without knowing any of my work or what I even think about it. That's okay. All right. Anyway, but that's not the case at all. But the truth is, I'm trying to see at what point is that supported, especially something like a quantum environment, a QSE of Mars. They had to have been here to get the chronovisor, to get the whole thing. They had to have been in that environment. You know what I mean? So I don't discredit anything anybody says. It's not for me to judge other people's testimonies either. But I think it's interesting when you can get some data like this and some scientific stuff that backs it up. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm at with it. And right now, the data you put up, that you got, confirms a lot of stuff, a lot that I suspected, but maybe on even a bigger level. And it's a matter of who is it they're working with up there, though?
Yeah, good question. Probably a bunch of people, a bunch of races of aliens and stuff. I wonder if they're up there with Valiant Thor from Venus. What do you think? I bet we know somebody we could ask.
What are you doing?
I'm just kidding. It was a joke. Shouldn't have said that.
You and I went. I was going to say it then. You and I went to a conference, and I thought maybe Valiant Thor was going to show up, and I was going to buy him lunch. I was going to get a selfie of just like this with Valiant Thor, me and Valiant Thor, and it would have went viral. I would have finally been a well-known guy. Could have got famous, man.
Could have.
He was at the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Okay, let me quit. That's not funny. It's the people that say they're in contact with him, so it's cool.
Who knows? Yeah, I mean, there's something going on up there, though. I mean, if there's a military compound, I mean, they've been putting it out over the past few years. Elon Musk was they've been putting out articles and information where he's working in conjunction with NASA to go put 3D printed, buildings and structures on Mars.
And you know what they're made of? I don't mean to interrupt you, but they're made of mycelium. And the same thing they want to put on the moon, which are mycelium housing. You see, and when I first came forward in I was also accused of never doing anything until we met each other. That's not true. I've been around since 2014. And I started talking in 2014 about mycelium craft and mycelium being component of this craft that are grown in space. And, some people are like, oh, vibing with it. I got dogged by a lot of people. Oh, that guy and his damn mushroom ships. That isn't exactly what I was saying, but it was all a joke until NASA announced that they were going to do that. They're going to be making these mycelium, and people started realizing they're using mycelium compounds to repair infrastructures in cities, especially bridges. Then believe me, and that's something I've been talking about, and I knew about decade before I ever came forward. You know what I mean? I was forced to deal with that during these experiences, but I couldn't find anything to back it up or anybody that was even talking about that. Organic craft is like everybody talks about it now. Nobody was talking about these living ships, especially the mycelium component. The only person I could find way back then, Jessica, was David Adair. He came forward at one point, and that's before I did. He came forward, but he was talking about symbiotic organic engines, something similar to what I'm accustomed to, but not the same. But I know something real there is going on. But outside of that, nobody was talking about it. And now it's just mainstream now. I had to resort to stuff like Tin Man from Star Trek The Next Generation. It was that bad. I know you don't know what that is, but somebody in your audience remembers the episode Tin Man. That was before Moya, and what TV show was that? Sci-fi Moya.
I have no idea.
Somebody in there knows. Sorry, it's a living ship called Moya. That was a Farscape. And people don't understand also the TARDIS. The TARDIS is organic. The TARDIS is a living creature. And the TARDIS also uses black holes and wormholes for travel through time and space. And, it seems like it's a joke, but why is it? How on earth did they know that some of these craft are bigger on the inside? I've been on board craft that are bigger on the inside than outside. Doctor Who just kind of helped iterate that. What is that? Transdimensional engineering. The outside and inside of the craft are not in the same dimension. That's true. So stuff like that, it results people like us have to resort to science fiction to kind of get similarities.
That's wild. I don't mean to interrupt you, but like when I drew that picture of like what looks like, I said that it looks like the TARDIS. Remember? Looks like the TARDIS. Right beside it, I wrote transdimensional vessel. Okay. And so I don't know. That's
know what TARDIS stands for? Time and random dimensions in space.
Oh,
That's
I didn't know.
What TARDIS stands for. Yeah.
It's an acronym. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it's interesting because there's certain things that just aren't really, I think, implemented enough that people don't realize enough that's hidden in science fiction. When you start going back even further, I made a post recently. Those comics of like the 50s and the 60s, those science fiction writers are suddenly the contactees of today. Do you see it? Kind of, It's interesting, isn't it? I'm not trying to discredit anything, but I'm saying it's. You want to see people battling on Mars and doing all that? Look at the comics from the 50s, before we even sent Viking 1, or the moon, the people on the moon trying to take us over, and all that stuff. I put some of those comics up on Facebook, and some of them go back to the 50s, 60s. Some of them just after we started doing space exploration, United States anyway. It's just I find all that stuff interesting. Comparisons and trying to see what the real truth is, because we get so much crap and concocted stuff. And some of it fantasy, some of it not, and nothing can be proved. Like what I'm saying can be proved. The person saying about 300 people, 3,000 can't prove it. You know what I mean? So we got to try to get some data or something hard that supports some testimony. You know what I mean? Yes. I think that's real disclosure. Not just saying fantastical stories. True.
Well, that's why I love the remote viewing aspect of all this too, is because I'm given blind targets and we're able to kind of back up some of what the testimonies have been. Okay. And I hope some of the secret space program people are watching the show tonight. Okay. Yeah. And hope that they'll tune in. I don't know.
Well, I've heard some of them talk about some of this, so it'll take it a step further, as far as that. And if nothing else, the reality of the jump rooms, both here and there, that's something that came through there hardcore, I thought.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Lots of interesting stuff here. Lots of interesting data. And I think these are fantastic targets too, Barry. Gosh.
Thank you. The whole thing is scary because we start dealing with the jump rooms. Just going to be we deal with the virtual reality scenario technology and virtual reality. And I've been exposed to virtual reality in my experiences, and they had told me that because there was not their vibration our vibrations were so different. And number two is me seeing the stuff I was seeing without a frame of reference was just effing me up. You know what I mean? And they did something that this synaptic helmet is what they called it, that I was in for just a second. So I would have a frame of reference for the contact because of the different dimensional difference, I think, even on board that craft. You know what I mean? So, but I tripped out. Then after that, because I was missing time behind this. All right. And then I start hearing Carla Turner talking, and she got jacked. Her husband got jacked. And they were talking, "Why are you laughing?" Horrible stuff happened to poor Carla Turner. No. But she wrote these books, Masquerading Angels. There's another one too, Taken. She did a couple of Taken series. And the stuff happening was terrible, but it was based a lot on virtual reality technology. And I got these beings telling me after this helmet thing was on me, they're saying that telepathically that to be aware that that type of technology has been corrupted by other civilizations, lower vibration, and it's used to deceive people. And that's the reason. Okay, my gosh, and you and I are close to the same age. And when I was younger, man, we in high school, there was the virtual reality thing come out. We had to go to the mall, and you put on that damn helmet, stood that thing, looked like a boat, and it rocked you back and forth. And it's nothing like what you got. Now, it was expensive, too. It was like $25 a ride. But, now you've got the helmet you can just put on. You know what I mean? It looks almost similar to Star Trek Deep Space Nine when they put on those things to pilot their ships, the Vorta or whatever. Anyway, just again, I think, I'm just only saying that because it's things I went through. Am I worried? Was I suffering from screen memories? Was I suffering from other types of virtual reality technology? And things like that and especially with what Carla Turner was talking about, because we are dealing with an alien agenda. But when I start looking at this planet, damn, man, is the human agenda really that much better? It kind of sucks. It's like the scales. Which one is worse?
Well, honestly, that's why I've done all these shows on like the reptilian agenda and our world leaders that are human, that appear to be human, are not even human. They're all like reptilians and stuff potentially. So maybe they're not all human,
Tia tequila.
I try, Liz, here's the thing. I try to encompass everything, like do like shows on hitting every angle of this. So I'm always asking the audience, what the head of one of my research teams has always asked me and our teams, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be human? I think that's an important question to ask, right? Who's human, who's not? Who gets to decide? Okay, what makes us human? And because there's so many humans that aren't human out here, and so we got to look at this from every angle. Who's here? Who walks among us? Okay, who walks among us? Who's controlling what? Are we really on Mars? Are we really on the moon? How did we get to the moon? Why are we lied to about things? Why would I potentially ever get a knock at my door for doing anything? Okay, remote viewing wise and stuff. There's so many facets to these things that we talk about, Barry, and so that's why I think that you and I both do a really good job of trying to hit things from every angle. Okay,
thanks.
And I think it's a wonderful thing because there's no cut and dry answer to anything, and we'll probably never figure it all out. Okay, but at least we can dig in a little bit.
Keep trying.
Yeah, we're gonna keep on digging. We're gonna be that little chihuahua that barks all the time and doesn't shut up. Just kidding.
Wow, it's really interesting because it's the whole thing is so much more of a conscious event than anybody wants to admit, and I'm still waiting for the entire communities to really come around to that, more than just Ray Hernandez and people like that. It's because we have something that is hard to accept, even for me at first, when realizing how the structure of the universe is with the Makos and things, to realize that some of these beings and some of these experiences we're having are coming from consciousness, from the Akashic records, from the Makos, from consciousness, though. Not outer space, not even inner earth, not any things. They're coming from consciousness. Just like the way, I did a video a while ago, and I've talked about this before. Where the heck do the Sasquatch go when they're not around? And more than just migrating from place to place. Where do they go? Where do they go when they disappear? Okay?
Yeah.
Honestly, are they just inorganic beings like orbs at that point? Or do they go into another form of consciousness, container of consciousness in another realm? Or do they stay
interdimensional.
Or do they stay the same container and go in the other dimension? Yeah.
Good question.
Is that dimension your team went in, or is it somewhere else? During this regression, again, I'll just bring this up. Okay. And it was so interesting because the individual went into Sasquatch connection. Okay. But it was with another Earth that was almost a type of utopia. And this Sasquatch that the person is interacting with in a life before this one, okay, is on this other Earth. And they're describing it existing with our Earth in a figuration that looks like a figure 8. And there are other Earths, but this one is closer. But that these Sasquatch go there, and it's a place where they can do everything they do. It's much more blissed out, but they jump over here. And some of them get stuck here sometimes because it's so dense. And it was fascinating what the individual was saying, but then they started talking about the more animalistic ones that are here all the time. They can't jump. They're not interdimensional or anything. And it's all the stuff that you and I have talked about that goes along with, what was the brother's name that first put out the Sasquatch types? He's gone. Matt Squatch. Whatever the heck happened to Matt Squatch? He's the first one to put up the 4 types, though. I'm pretty sure it was him.
Yeah, and, you've mentioned him, but I don't know who he is.
Because he fell off.
Yeah, we do have our categories. I refer to them often. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now you and I know there are a lot more than that. You know, recently I had put up something, and I'll try to find it again and repost it if I can make a mental note. But it was a Native American was talking of seeing that they're aware of Sasquatch, but they watched this Sasquatch was watching these kids play, some that were Sasquatch kids, and the others that appeared to be little gray and Caucasian babies, a mix, hybrids. They're all playing in this forest, and the individuals watching them, watching the kids play together, and saying how odd these mutant type things are, even to the Sasquatch, but how they're interacting. And I think that's just fascinating. We start dealing with that galactic trade and all the things that have went on from the Type 1 civilization that they were still a part of. That's really just interesting to me. You know what I mean? And these different hybrids and things we're talking about, that's a project that's been going on a long time. So food for thought, you know. And that's what's cool right now with the internet and shows like yours and everything. And was it Cryptid Canada? I like that lady. I like Bigfoot Project. The other one she does, Bigfoot something. But it's so cool because people can just write in now anonymously and just tell, and the communication is going on. You know, more than just, and you see everybody, like, heck, I just walked the other day. This guy walked by, I was at the doctor. I walked by, and the dude doing the scheduling, the big old Sasquatch on the side of his computer. I go, why you got that there, man? He goes, oh, no, I just think it's cool. I was like, okay, man, wow.
Everybody loves Bigfoot. Everybody. Just about. Yeah, just about everybody. I don't know. I was, we're about to start school again, right? School starting back. And I had to go meet my son's teacher. Boy, she doesn't know she's in for a ride this year. Or maybe she does. I'm sure she's heard. And so anyways, she was asking Ben what all he likes to do and what his hobbies are and stuff. And he was like, oh, he said video games. And I was like, that is not all he likes to do, by the way. Okay. That is not all he does. And
he better want to tell everybody, hey guys, I go hunting Bigfoot. He's at the age of maybe.
I just told his teacher, I was like, look, Ben is a pretty renowned Bigfoot researcher. Okay. And if he's not going to tell you, I will. And he's been interviewed all over the world.
You threw him out there, huh? You threw him out there.
Well, because I don't want him. He's got to stand out. You know what I mean? And that's interesting.
You busted him out. I can't believe you just said that.
Well, I had to do it because they're going to find out that his mom is the cryptid huntress at some point. Okay. So let's just go ahead and throw it all out there before the rumors get started. Okay. Yes, my mom is a crazy Bigfoot lady. Okay. So I just go ahead and put it out there. And the teacher thought it was really cool. Okay, really cool. And so I don't know I forgot what we were talking about, what the point of that was. But
it's more accepting. It's more accepted now.
Because everybody loves Bigfoot. That's right.
Well, people are
everybody
talking.
Loves Bigfoot. Yes.
People can come forward, and it's just more people than you ever would have thought.
Yes, yeah. Back in the day, people didn't have Bigfoot stickers on their vehicles. I remember that. Maybe it just wasn't cool to have a sticker on your car. I mean, people have always had stickers on the trucks, but when I first started,
crazy,
yeah, you didn't want to be labeled that person, and that's why I didn't speak publicly about it for so many years over 10 years. And but now it's like really cool, and everybody wants to be a Bigfooter now. Everybody wants to be a Bigfooter, a Bigfoot researcher. So that's good. I've moved on to Dog Man. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm into all of it. I'm still a Bigfoot researcher. Okay.
They're quite capable of doing that on Mars or anywhere. They're able to grow that there. That's quite easy. They could do that. That's not something that they can't do. You could look that up. Or maybe they're just mentioning that's part of the process, but that's not something that's like they can't do right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not all mushrooms grow in cow patties.
Oh, are you referring to the comment up here?
Yeah.
Okay. I had not read it. Mycelium needs to
example, radiotropic fungus is example of that. But it's nuclear, actually gamma radiation waste that it grows on. So,
wait, we've talked about the mushrooms like Chernobyl, right? Is that Chernobyl? It's like it was cleaning up the radiation and stuff there.
Growing off of it, actually. Yeah, that's radiotropic fungus. And the interesting thing about that is that people don't like it when I mention this, but it's the melanin that it uses to convert the gamma radiation into the growth cycle. Okay. And that's what the Hulk does, basically. And people realize there actually was a black Hulk. He's the strongest one too. Look it up. It's interesting. Really? Oh, it's Red Hulk, Green Hulk.
The Hulk was just green.
Yeah,
green and purple or something.
Well, it goes out of my land, but it's a brother that I talked to sometimes he's telling me, you remember Planet Hulk? I was like, oh yes. Geez, I had to go back. I was like, okay, yeah, it's been a long time. I remember Planet Hulk. There's a bunch of them. Anyway, point being, that's what radiotropic fungus does, and it's interesting because that takes us into something else that I've talked about a lot, which is the deep biosphere of the Earth, which contains not just mycelium, but like 95% of Earth's bacteria that's never been discovered. And a large part of it is called dark microbial matter because it's melanin dominant. And we start dealing with these ships that you see going into the Earth and going into rock too. You need to think about that some of them can be going to the deep biosphere and communicating with Earth and symbiotically, possibly even recharging, because we don't know how much organic components each one of them has. Food for thought. You know what I mean?
Gamma rays. Yeah. Yeah.
Bill Bixby, man. Lou Ferrigno. Somebody told me Lou Ferrigno is 6'8". I met that cat. No, he is not. I got brothers that are 6'6" and 6'7" almost. That cat's nowhere near they're tall. He's about 6'3". That's really pushing it. I think that's pushing it, to be honest with you. But he's still fit for his age.
Lou Ferrigno? Is that what you said? I was thinking, for some reason, I thought he was short.
No, not that short. But his build is like being like 6'6" and stuff. No, he's not. That cat is. I mean, I would almost put him at 6'2", to be honest.
Really?
So I know, because that kind of guy.
Tall still.
Not really. You say I'm kind of tall, and I'm a midget where I come from. I'm 5'11". So when I stand with my brothers, I'm standing about right here. I take a picture with them. People say, "Oh, are you a dwarf? Are you a midget?" No, I'm not a condoplasian. I'm not a dwarf. Seriously, I got asked that a bunch of times. I said, my brother's just a little taller than average, but so I can pretty much judge. And people, or my other brother laughs. He says, people see you the second time. They say, "Oh, man, I thought you were taller." They always say that the second time they meet me. I come off tall, I guess. And my brother Mitch, he's slapping his leg. Oh, you're Snake Plissken. I said, what do you mean by that? That's Kurt Russell, Escape New York, another movie you wouldn't be aware of. But anyway, every time they meet Snake Plissken, you're Snake Plissken? Damn, I thought you'd be taller. So it's a big joke. Funny, I can tell you.
Oh, man. Well, anyway. I'm the shortest one in my whole family, and I'm not that short. Okay, so I come from a tall family as well.
That's interesting. That's an interesting comment there.
It says lots of Bigfoot activity around my area here in central Illinois, and I've been a researcher and cryptozoologist hobbyist for 20 plus years myself too. That's Max life.
Is it really woodsy around there?
Central Illinois, yeah. I think that's where Gerald and Jane live. Okay, well they're down in more like central to southern Illinois, I think. That's where you and I were in Grafton, Illinois. Actually, that's more in southern Illinois, I think. Yeah, and it was very luscious right there was that the Mississippi River?
Yeah, it
It was
was.
very green
Filled with
out there.
black flies. It was great.
Oh, it had like those. You're talking about the logs and stuff that were in there too. Remember that? Gosh, that river was.
Those black flies that were biting everybody
Oh,
threw
the
off.
flies.
They were biting
Yes.
through off. Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking about the river with all those trees and stuff, how dangerous that was. I could not believe how
Oh, I
fast that
know.
river was running. It was
Yeah,
going so fast. If you fell in that river,
Oh, you're in trouble. Try
you're
to
in a lot
swim
of
across
trouble.
that, you're in trouble.
No, one of those
It
big
makes
tree
me think
stumps coming
about
at you.
it makes me think about Theo, Malcolm Jamal Warner. A lot of
Yeah.
people are saying that there's so much mysterious stuff around him and his death, but he got caught in a rip current, right? Riptide. There were 3 of them, but he died. But I mean, it's just when you read about that though, in that area, I'm surprised they were in there swimming, but that's a horrible way to die,
Yeah, that's
and
terrible.
that's why I can never go out there and swim somewhere like that. I'd be worried about the riptides. I watched one too many Bay watches to there was a riptide
Yeah.
out there about every episode, wasn't there? The Baywatch beach.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
sorry.
just gotta be careful. I don't know. Last time when we were down in Florida recently, we didn't get in the ocean that much. We really didn't. It was, I don't like my son definitely can't get in there without me. And I think we both were kind of like the current was it was pretty bad when we were down there actually. So gotta be careful. And there's sharks, so keeps me out of the deep water.
Hey, real quick
Yes.
because I went goofy. Do we tie up everything on the Mars stuff? I know we
I
got all
guess
your
so.
data.
We got through all the data. We've established that there's a military complex on Mars. Okay. And whether that's what that whole complex there is or that's what's there today.
Yeah.
It depends on what target we were talking about. I don't remember, but military complex, military compound is there. That's it. What's underneath the complex in the interior of it. And a big explosion, something that burnt out the whole area right there is what sent everybody underground. A huge explosion, something that bursted, burned, hot, smoldering, put everything at 0 point, whatever that means. And
extreme military activity.
down. Yeah.
Extreme military activity.
Yeah. And whatever's down there, it's robotics, electronics, all that kind of stuff. The hologram. Remember I said it's like the Matrix is what I was seeing. The binary numbers.
Hey, I got a question. So like you mentioned these computer type of stuff you were seeing down there, Did it remind you at all of the machinery you saw on the cube near the sun?
I mean, it's AI. Yeah, it was the same kind of data. Yeah, that's similar, I guess. I mean, just computer systems and stuff.
Was it as massive?
I don't know.
I just asked that because whatever they
I don't
around
know.
the sun is just huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Bigger than Jupiter, right? Bigger than any exoplanet. That thing's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That was one of those rather unpleasant targets, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And, I wonder too. I'm just going to throw this out, okay? When it comes to like the SSP stuff and the part of it that is involving neuro weaponry and neuro programming, which I think a lot of it is. I hate to say that, but because we have no neurocognitive law on books. There's no such thing. So these organizations that are beaming people and hitting them with weaponry, and I mean a lot more than just V2K. They're hitting people with weaponry that is turning dreams into memories and memories into reality and that type of programming, hive mind type of stuff. And, when you start dealing with something that is a testimony, like for say, like Tony's, okay? I remember when I met him, he's telling me in the airport, he asked him what his story was. I didn't know. He started crying on me. He's telling me he was a slave. He kept saying that again and again. He didn't call himself SSP cat. He didn't call himself a super soldier. He said he was a slave. He'd been in a enslavement program. And when dealing with that, and then the data that you got on TRAPPIST-1 Another one, oh, way I didn't expect that one, but the what did you call them? The mid-rises and the slavery thing.
Yeah.
And then correlating those two for a third aspect with what William Tompkins talked about, that the Milky Way in particular is more primitive and is still dealing with certain civilizations that are dealing with slavery. That's a big problem in the Milky Way. And when we start dealing with the concept of the Matrix, how the machines took us in cyberspace, Terminator was outside, but the Matrix cyberspace is when we see this SSP thing, the super soldier thing, is that a way that they're enslaving us? Is that the beginning of it? They enslave the clairvoyants first, the natural contactees first, get them in these programs that is more of a neuro-programming hive mind, and they start enslaving our population. Every person I've dealt, something else, that people don't know. I've dealt with some people clients that were SSP. That they weren't quote unquote. One of them thought they were, but the others did not. Okay, there are people that were not into this stuff. And when that starts coming out, you have to acknowledge a certain part of it. All right. And that means, you know what I'm saying? So it, how can I say it? I wonder at what point it begins and ends that they start putting us enslaved like that. And each person has told me there's another me that's doing this. It's like me here now, but there's this other me that's building these ships and flying ships and with the hybrids and doing yada, yada. But it's this other me, and it's like a parallel reality. See, so I'm hearing that a lot, but then, and then dreams, this is a dream experience, parallel reality, these things. So is that the way they psychologically enslave us before we become a type 1 civilization? I'm not saying I'm right, but I think it's a valid question.
It's an option. I don't know.
We're close to becoming type 1. We're getting there.
Yeah.
So it's time to throw the switch of control and overdrive, isn't it?
Man, I mean, I feel like we are on a super highway. They're on a super highway to try to control everybody big time right now. And it's definitely been ramped up for sure. And so maybe it's just a matter of exposing it. I mean, I don't know if we can stop it, but it's at least the awareness of it is the first step.
I don't want everybody to know, and I'm not judging anybody's experiences. I'm not saying it is the way I just said, but I'm asking. I mean, it's a possibility. It needs to be put in there with everything else. You know what I mean? And I'm sure there's both the neuroprogramming and the real physical experiences. So, but there's like a place there where it gets hard to tell because they're dealing with such high frequency technology and things. And I've seen some of these scans, multi-body scans based on the Y-band, the wireless body area network. People need to really look at what that is and how they can actually put things into you that will be nano dust and different things, xenobots that will respond. And it's really, really kind of a trip. And I've seen like scans of people's bodies emitting non-natural megahertz and other hertz and frequencies. And then those can be tied back to certain corporations or other places. Intel's come up a lot. I've seen that come up. Another one, I sent you a picture of it's Milsat.
Do I have it now?
Satellites.
Is that is that a picture I have to show right now?
No, but I can get it and put it up online if you want me to. You want me to? So anyway, you want me to? Because people should see it.
Sure.
I'll do it. Why not? I know we're going to end soon because it's otherwise it seems like I'm this nutcase talking stuff, but it may or may not be true. Hopefully the jury's not out on that anymore. Anyway. Okay, here it is.
Oh gosh. Brandon, that's funny. I remember that episode of South Park too. He said, "I'm glad no satellites popped out of his rear." Okay, Cartman, South Park. That was a funny cartoon, actually. Yeah, I remember those. That was funny.
Is that the one where he's playing the Wheel of Fortune?
Oh no, I don't know about that.
Everybody, I think that's South Park. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. He's playing Wheel of Fortune. There it is. Can you put that up?
Yes. Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay, now I'm asking you a question right now. See, I want to get us in trouble. Look. How many of you right now have heard of these people?
I only heard about them through you.
That's a military satellite, okay, communications and global. Google them and look at their budget. They have a budget of $76 billion. And I've seen scans that are connected to these people. They're hitting people with these frequencies. And since there's no neurocognitive law on the books, people have no protection. I'm gonna leave it at there. I'm gonna talk no more about this because it's not happening to me, and I'm not trying to be too much of a fly around the cider. But I think people need to be aware of this. Maybe somebody in your deals heard about that, but most people I've talked to have not. People that are in quote unquote disclosure, they're not talking about this at all. Okay, and another one I've seen come up on these scans is the Intel Corporation. Look, when I was younger, I thought Intel made like Merlins and Simon said stuff like that, and then they started doing chips, right? Intel Corporation, but they've got a lot of those frequencies coming out of people's bodies emitting is coming from them.
Wow.
This is when you start dealing with wireless body area network. You start coming up with this type of stuff and that new technology, the new apps that scan people and do all these different things. I mean, it's multi-body scanning. That's where it's really at. And some of the people making claims, they need to go into these clinics and get scanned. Prove that you're not getting these frequencies and that your experiences are coming from somewhere else. It's not coming from Milsat. I'm just saying, okay? You're looking funny in the face. I'll shut up now. But I mean, I'm just saying it's one thing coming up I don't hear about. And people need to talk about that. There's like scientific evidence that proves what I'm talking about. It's not just fantasy anymore. It's messing people up. Bad. We've met how many of them now? When I kept wondering why I was asked to go to the JRT conference in Illinois. Because my information is not exactly like what they're great cats, but I mean they're kind of more into the other thing, which is cool. I like them both, but
the SSP is what you're talking about.
Well, not just that, more just some conspiracy stuff. Not even SSP necessarily, which is cool. I'm not saying it's not all real, but it's a little different than what the information I focus on. But I got invited there, and I'm honored to go to any conference. And the first thing that happens, you and I get on that chicken that we got hooked up with.
Oh, because we were hungry. We didn't have any food.
Yeah, we didn't have food, no grub, man.
Fried chicken, it was delicious. The cooks there brought us out a box of fried chicken. And it was so great. Yes. And we communed over it with everybody that came through. And we
people come through, started hanging out with us. And
that's have some chicken out of our box, y'all. Come on.
Remember, I met it was only in person. I met people, like through online and stuff, but in person, that was the first target individual I met. And they talked to us for about like 30 minutes. I was sitting there like, whoa. It was really long, but I learned a lot about it. And then there was another individual there, was a target individual, and I started meeting the individual and learning more. You know what I mean? One of the people there showed me a body scan. So I mean, it's stuff, stuff like that I think is really important when we're dealing with what's happening to humanity right now in the entire contact scenario. That's all I'm saying. I'll shut up now.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know. I don't think I'd ever met like targeted individuals in person and stuff. And then I was like, well, maybe I'm a targeted individual too. I don't know. I think everybody is really. I think the entire population of the world are targeted individuals right now. This is my opinion. Okay. And there are frequency we're all getting hit with frequency weapons of some sort. Okay. But some of them are more defined than others, I guess you could say. Pinpointed accuracy at certain people and stuff like that.
Again, you're describing a type of slavery.
It's a type of slavery.
It is.
Yeah.
And, it makes sense that they start. Okay, so I've had several clients that are tagged before they're born. Right after they die, the last death they have, they get tagged somewhere between there and incarnating now. And they don't get really affected until they come through the birth cycle. Then they're on them. You know what I mean? It's a full blow. But they know these individuals are incarnating before they come. That whole thing of Artron energy I'm talking about, that whole thing we carry, they can track that. From apparently incarnation to incarnation. Great, just great. Jeez. Real fair place this is, right?
Oh, man.
Things I've encountered a few times, you know what I mean? So.
Oh, yeah. Well, oh my gosh. Max Life said, I'll take a younger me clone, please. Yeah. We talked about clones yesterday. I don't want a clone of me. I really don't. It'd be nice to get more stuff done, but that would just be confusing at some point.
I only caught the last part of that because I was doing that session, but you and what's that guy's name? Nice guy. Mike. Yeah. Mike was mentioning how many he's hearing about people getting cloned dogs that are really rich.
Barbara Streisand had cloned, I think it was Barbara Streisand, cloned her dogs for $385,000 or something.
I mean, it would look like the same dog, but it's not going to be the same dog. They can't.
That's what I was saying. I was like, well, just get another dog. Like I have a particular type of German Shepherd, and like they have they're bred like that. So I can go get another German Shepherd just like her. Okay. But it wouldn't be you're never going to get the same personality. It's not like the same soul in that dog, and dogs have souls. Okay. Every animal has a soul, I believe. Okay. Just get another dog. Just get another dog. I don't know. I don't know. People do what they want. I don't judge. I'm just saying. I like a variety, man. I like a variety of people and places, and I love my world to be very colorful and beautiful and full of different experiences and different people. And I've had so many beautiful animals. There's so many dogs in the shelters, y'all, and stuff.
Yeah.
There's dogs and cats and animals everywhere that need homes. Why clone?
And you got the commercial that comes on every.
It's like, don't adopt, don't shop. Okay. Like, I'm not saying don't shop too. I mean, do what you want. Okay. But there are dogs and cats out there that could use a home where you don't need to go clone an animal. I'm just saying, but I'm not judging. Do what you want.
Can you pull that one up I just put up if you can?
Oh, let's see. Oh, sure. Okay.
That's the Alcor. That's the Alcor Corporation. And what they do is put people in cryogenic suspension just before you die.
Just before you die?
Or just after it is, I guess. Or is it just before? You have to look it up. It might be before, after. It goes into there's a Star Trek Next Generation episode where they actually find this vessel, and it's not the one with Khan, it's a TNG episode, but they have these people from about our century that they thaw out. They're in cryogenic suspension. And the whole deal was they got put in suspension until there was a cure for what ailed them that was going to kill them. And that's Alcor is doing stuff like that. People can look that up. And that's not a new company. It's interesting when I hear a lot of stuff about cloning, so I try to look into it a little. But that's a company that's been around for quite a while. And one of these cryogenics there's another company called the Cryonics Institute, CRYONICS Institute. Check them out too. They're doing this stuff too.
Okay, here's my question, Barry. We can't answer because we're not these people, right? But I mean, these people who want to stay here. This sounds so weird. This is me sounding judgy. I just said I don't judge, but it's like life is hard. Okay. Are these people's lives not hard enough, I guess, to where they want to stay here forever and ever? I mean, there are people that would like to be immortal. I just don't understand that. I just don't understand it. Life has sucked in so many ways here. Why would you want to stay here? It's fun, but I feel like I've probably reincarnated in many different lives and stuff. That's what I believe. And like I said, I like the variety of life, I guess. I would not want to stay here in this body as this person forever and ever and ever. I just wouldn't.
You know, I know another show that you don't like, but somebody out there likes it. Not just the Highlander movies, but the Highlander the series. It was much more explicit in the series, and it comes to a point of where, like, okay, once they become immortal, unless you cut their head off, they pretty much live forever. But you got some of them that go, like, the oldest one, Mythos, is 5,000 years old, and you got others that are considered older. They're like 2,000, over 1,000. You got McLeod, who's a young one. He's only 460, so he's younger technically. But I look at it, man. In my life right now, I mean, it would take me at least 400 years to start getting stuff right, I think. Then maybe I would want to expire after that. But I don't. Unlike you, I don't have any children, and I'm not shooting blanks. I know that for sure. But I don't have any. Sorry, I don't have any kids. But my mother always said, "You're going to regret that when you get older." And my mother was always right on so many things, but on that one, she's wrong. I don't regret it at all. I'm good. But about this time right now, I feel like I'm in a maturation where maybe having a kid wouldn't be too bad if I would have felt like this when I was younger. You know what I mean? But I didn't. I wasn't into it. And I'm not into it now, really. But just the possibility of it now is not appalling like it was then. Reproduction.
Oh God. Do you remember wasn't it like Walt Disney that did this? He did the cryogenics thing, right? Didn't they like take his head or something and put it they froze it? I don't remember.
They did something, didn't they?
I think it was Walt Disney. That's the only case of a cryogenic case that I know of like a famous person.
I've heard about too, at a certain point that they're trying to grow different limbs and different parts and then actually grow a body and then try to transfer the person into that body or something. But I've heard about that growing or just growing different organs to be transplanted, and I think that's the next thing we're coming to. There was a movie in the 80s and the 90s that I really liked. It was called Body Parts. The guy was like this teacher, and he got in a car accident and lost his arm, and they gave him a transplant in another arm. And this other arm seems to be stronger, and once he gets used to it, it's stronger than the other one, And one day he's a teacher. He's teaching his class, and he's got his book, and he's doing something on a chalkboard, and all of a sudden he starts seeing that arm twisting off this cop's neck, just pow! And
Ooh.
Several of them, and he's having these visions, and he goes to see a client he has in jail, and he's a counselor there, and the dude's like, "Get out of here, man! You got the tattoo. That tattoo is death row, man."
Oh no!
It was the first time he started hearing really that at the cellular level, the memory is at the cellular level, and it was transferring in that way. And it got me into checking out more things like transplant recipients that say that they are having like cravings that they didn't have before that are of the actual person that donated. I think it's interesting how much of our cellular memory is there, that is us.
Yeah. Yes. This is a funny comment right here. It's actually a good comment, Steve. And I started laughing in my head when I read this because it said, who would want to restart their life in their 80s, 100 or more years from now? That's a good point. I mean, I was thinking like how behind, like it's a whole century, like whenever they're going to take you out of this frozen catatonic state, and reanimate your body. It's just weird to me. And I was just like, I mean, just a generational gap between me and my son. I mean, just when I was trying to be cool to have him like understand what I was saying the other day. And I was like, man, this food is busting. I was like, I felt so stupid saying that because I was like, man, it's really good. But I was trying to be cool, like use his term, like I was busting. And I was like, dang, I feel silly talking like a kid.
I mean, that's kind of a
man.
One for even us, isn't it?
This Mexican food be busting, kid. Yeah, and I was like, man, if I just, imagine like coming out of some like frozen state in a year. I mean, that'd be like somebody from freaking late 1800s, early 1900s, waking up today and living in this world full of cell phones and, I mean, computers and all that kind of stuff, just being a fish out of water, man. Fish out of water. I don't know. Or that movie like Quantum Leap. Quantum Leap. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked him better in Enterprise. Scott Bakula.
Yeah.
I got a friend. He's an LMFT, and he was mentioning that he had seen this deal where it was a family function, and the head of the family had told during this family function this afternoon, forbid the kids to have any of their cell phones, took their cell phones. So they had to interact with each other in the family. And he looked at me, he said, Barry, he said within 15, 20 minutes, most of those kids were in crisis. They're almost having a meltdown. That's what he said. He said, I said, I can believe it, and that's a problem that that generation, they can just pick this up in Google and get anything they need. They're not like us, and social interactions getting lost. You can see it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I had another friend, and he sitting down there, and he said, it was time to eat, and his son started get your sister. He grabs his phone and starts,
Don't know what to do.
Go upstairs and knock on her door. He looked at me. No, oh God, excuse me, man. I'm like, I was stupid old person to even ask that, man. Nobody goes up there and knocks on the door, man.
I know. Society's in trouble. In Georgia, they just outlawed phones for kids under 8th grade.
Really?
So, kids that are under 8th grade. Last year, my son's teacher encouraged him to bring his cell phone to school, and he didn't even have a cell phone. I wouldn't allow him to have a phone. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, this year, I think it's a good thing when it goes to the schools. I guess. Because kids really don't need to be on their phones at school anyways. You know what I mean? But his teacher encouraged him to do it last year. So, but now they can't have a phone if they're under 8th grade. Yeah. At school. I think they can maybe they could take one in their bag for an emergency or something. I don't know. Tuck one away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, good luck enforcing that. Good luck enforcing that.
Yeah, I know, right?
They got their hands full on that one. Everybody gets a metal detector.
Shoot. They'll pat those kids down. These schools these days, Barry. Kids, I don't know. Maybe not. You got slick kids like my son. He'll get it into school if he needs a phone.
Okay. I think you want to throw that other target in just as a 2-minute bonus real quick. We'll probably never do a show over it. It's too weird.
I don't know. The data didn't. I don't know. Do you think the data made enough sense?
I don't know at all. The reason why. Okay, so I gave Jessica a blind target, and the Jessica. Excuse me. I'm getting tired. The target was
Nostradamus.
Yeah, it was Nostradamus. And the reason why I gave it to you just because I don't agree with everything she said, but I thought Dolores Cannon did pretty good work, and she was talking about that she tried to remote view Nostradamus, and he communicated with her from that time period, but said it was beyond space and time, and was using quantum entanglement, and was giving her updated prophecies and stuff like that. People can look it up. I just thought it was super interesting how she said he was with her and it was beyond space time. He was using quantum entanglement to communicate with her immediately, which implies to me he's coming through one of the Makos using that. And I find it interesting that that's one thing you might have got out of the data is Stargate type. But outside of that, it was I just wanted to see if you maybe communicated with them or connected with them. That's all. It was just one of my weird little experiments. It was nowhere near as cool as the moon or the Mars, but it was the stuff I was messing with.
No, the whole target was nothing but like Stargate portal data, like grid patterns and different types of portals and all sorts of weird stuff. It was like I literally drew like a platform that had like a big Stargate on it. So I don't know. I don't even know what
you had on there that tripped me out. You
had
Ashtar on there.
I did. I had Ashtar on there. I had the Olmec. I had Olmec in here. Was in the data as well. And I started thinking like, well, did that target get cross-referenced with the other 2 targets that you gave me? You know what I mean? Like that's what I was wondering when I got done with that target, because that does happen sometimes, where you give me a clump of targets together, kind of, and then they get cross-referenced sometimes.
That one I gave to you a different time, though, slightly different time, though. Like, well, not much, a day or 2 later, but it wasn't the exact same time. I don't think anyway. But yeah, that was a different thing. It wasn't as important as Mars, but I just thought it would be cool. I just thought maybe Jessica would be hanging out with the Nostradamus. Used to
No,
come back
I
and say,
did
man,
not.
I was with Nostradamus. I thought that would have been cool.
I did not hang out with Nostradamus. No. I was having communication with what I considered to be Ashtar, whoever Ashtar is. Okay. It was on there.
Oh, you had communication with are you serious?
Yeah, it was right underneath it. Yeah, communication with Ashtar. And I was seeing some kind of hybrid something or other, but it was definitely a grid. I was seeing a grid. There was a grid, and it was very much like a portal that my teams encountered at some point. It had a grid pattern on it, and dimensional overlay was in my data. Stargate platform and walk in, and this is what I drew. I drew this huge picture of like a. It looks like a star. It looks like a Stargate right there, right? With like a triangle and a circle. At the top, it's a platform with like stairs on it going up there, which is kind of cool. And it was like I wrote that it was a stage. So, I mean, that's what I was saying. It wasn't Nostradamus. It was some kind of Stargate. So,
I mean, yeah. So you think there's no connection? It's
no,
not that
I don't think so.
Not a Stargate or something.
I felt really sick, and I told you there was something toxic in the environment, and I had to get out. So I don't know where I was, but there was something where I started feeling sick, so I got out of it.
I'll ask you something, Courtney.
Okay.
Do you think Nostradamus was in communication with Ashtar Command? Or was Nostradamus Ashtar? Just asking.
I have no idea. I don't even know what any of that is. I know who Nostradamus was. Okay. And I mean maybe he had access to some portals and stargates. I mean, who knows?
Oh,
but
so you don't know who Ashtar Command is?
I've heard of it. Those are the ones that did the TV interruptions, right? With the aliens that Brown Bigfoot Dwarf and I talked about, right?
Hold on, I'm pulling. You're killing me here. I'm pulling this one out, man. Why not, man? Okay. I don't have the ability.
Yeah, I didn't get any data that had to do with Nostradamus, probably.
That's
it was
all right.
Definitely more of a Stargate.
There you go. You can pull that up.
Okay, so this is Ashtar Command.
Ashtar Command right there. Perfect Caucasians. I'm sorry. Anyway, I've never seen any melanin-dominated beings represented Ashtar Command. I'm sorry. I just got to tell you all that. This is what it is. But that's one of their deal. I believe that's Sheldon Neildon that says he's in with the Andromedans too. But yeah, anyway.
Okay.
But interestingly enough, I've always kind of made fun of the Ashtar thing, but I'm not. Who's to say that they don't exist? And also, the people have not been in communication with them, because they do come up quite a bit in the ufology community. So I don't know. I will say, I do have some schematics of some of their ships that are pretty impressive, actually. I will say that aren't quite the joke that picture was.
Yeah.
The rainbows just
made a good picture. I don't see anything wrong with it. Okay. But yeah, that's an interesting target though in Nostradamus. So I mean, it would be cool to psychically tune into that, I guess, instead of the remote viewing target did not do it justice, let's just say. But we are here tonight to talk about the Mars. I think the Mars targets were great tonight, and I really enjoyed doing those. And I mean, I enjoyed doing all three of them, but but I like the Mars ones, and I think we got some pretty good data out of those. So So I definitely appreciate it that you gave me some really cool targets.
Next time you have somebody like our team or somebody on, they can probably, or James, they can really literate on the data you had, as far as what they've seen or what they know, or maybe even compare it to what Andrew Basago said. Very interesting. Very interesting. And it's cool that it gives more credence to what some of them are saying. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because that was complete blind target. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had told James about these targets when I saw him last weekend, and I was like, we're going to be doing a show on them, and he will be coming on my show soon. He did. He asked me if I'd like to come down and come to do, I guess, speak at his conference. He's having a conference down in Orlando, and so I might be speaking down there. I don't know. Down in October, I think. But we'll see. But yeah, I need to get him on here, and it's been a while. I think I want to say the last time he came on was with Jimmy Payne. We talked about vampires. It's been like 2 years or something. We had a show on vampires. And we talked about reanimated corpses, and it was a weird rabbit hole because James and he's like SSP guy, super soldiers, and we were talking about vampires and basically like reanimated zombies, like corpses and stuff. So that was an interesting one. If you guys missed that, y'all go back and watch them. They're really good. But anyways, man, what a great show tonight. I know we have for Thursday? We've almost hit a 3-hour show tonight. So I guess we can wind it down. And I want to thank everybody for being here tonight, y'all. This has been a wonderful chat. This chat has been going really fast tonight. And I'm
sorry I didn't look over there hardly at all this show.
Yeah, it's been amazing, y'all. Y'all are the best chat. We have the best live chat on the internet. Okay. And I stand by that, because it's because of our moderators too. So thank y'all so much for all the moderators and the links you guys are putting up and all that kind of stuff. I appreciate y'all so much.
Had some brilliant people in there too. Like I said, I'm no authority on Mars, and you had some brilliant people in there.
Oh yeah, we always do. Well, Barry, where can everybody find you? Tell everybody about your Patreon, your YouTube, and the services you provide, and anything you want to promote tonight.
I'm on YouTube under Barry Littleton, on Patreon under Barry Littleton, Facebook Barry Littleton, Instagram Barry Littleton. You can email me at barrylittleton13@gmail.com. I provide services that are hypnosis. I do past life regression, earthbound spirit release, generational curse release, negative identity dissolvement, which don't have to be hypnotized for that. Also do readings and just some counseling as well. So hit me up if you'd like, and appreciate it. I actually work with some really great people from your crowd. You got really great people, great clients, just great, intelligent, spiritual people. It's cool. It's really cool.
Well, thank
you. Your audience is unlike the last 4 or 5 people I worked with. Your audience is unlike any of theirs. It's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And we've always got people in the chat that are giving good testimonials on the services they've gotten from you, and everybody loves it. Okay, I've heard nothing but good stuff, Barry. Nothing but A+ all around. And so you guys definitely reach out to Barry. BarryLittleton13@gmail.com. It's on the screen right there. If you guys want to get in touch with Barry. And please definitely go over and subscribe to his YouTube channel and his Patreon if you hadn't already. I know most of y'all, 99% of y'all are subscribed to Barry's channel, I'm sure, but go over there if you hadn't already. Okay. Well, man, this has been a really fun show tonight. And I want to thank Firewater. Thank you for that super sticker tonight. You're so sweet. I really do appreciate you. And thank everybody for sticking with us all night. And I hope everybody learned a little something tonight. And I hope you enjoyed the show. And please come back and see me on Saturday night at 10 p.m. as we go on the hunt. I promise y'all it's going to be a really good show. It always is. And we always have the best guest ever. Okay. But until then, y'all, please be safe out there. And don't live in fear. Keep your head on a swivel. And just stay safe and take care of each other. All right, y'all. Everybody have a great night. And Barry, thank you again for being here. Please come back and hang out with me again soon. Okay? I know you will. All right. Bye, y'all.